Man accidentally reborn back in high school. The first thing he did when he was reborn was to tell his parents that he wanted to become a Taoist priest. Even after being beaten to a pulp by his loving parents, his determination to become a Taoist priest was still not stopped. His name is Wang Shang. He's 17 years old and already has an 8-pack. He also does 1,000 push-ups every day. Logically speaking, young people his age would usually stay at home and play games, or buy some snacks to eat and kill time. But he doesn't dare to be so reckless, because he's a reborn. Because the rocket that was launched on the news a short time later will bring back something from the moon that will revive the aura that's been dormant for thousands of years. It will bring Earth into the era of universal cultivation. In his previous life, he was just a small cultivator. Until he was 31 years old when he ran into 2 gangs fighting over territory. As a result, he was killed inexplicably by someone. He doesn't even know who the murderer is. Luckily, God gave him a chance to be born again. Can no longer spend this life being useless. Got to make a name for himself. During this period, relying on the experience of his previous life, he used the exercises to slightly improve his physique and develop 8-pack abs. But it's a pity that the cultivation method is incomplete, and now he has reached a bottleneck period. There is only one way to break through, and that is to learn from a master. So he put on his clothes and went to the living room. He told his mom and dad that he wanted to become a Taoist priest at Wudong Mountain. His kind parents are very understanding of his idea. They just let him go after beating him to a pulp. Although the price paid is a bit heavy, but Wang Shang finally made it to Wudong Mountain to learn from his master. In his previous life, Wudong Mountain had some weight among the heavenly ranking masters of immortal Tao. In his previous life, he failed to become a disciple of Wudong. In this life, he must seize the opportunity. But when he finally climbed up the mountain and came to Zishao Palace, but he was told by a Taoist boy playing with his cell phone, the Taoist priest he was looking for, Gao Shishing, was not in the mountain and had gone abroad to perform. And I'm afraid he won't be back for the next few months. Wang Shang just froze. The Taoist master Gao Shishing that he wanted to worship is a future top 30 master in the heavenly ranking. Before the revival of heaven and earth, it was a representative of Wudong's martial arts. But now that he and several other Taoist masters are gone, Wang Shang can only lift his suitcase in disappointment. Prepare to go down the mountain and study as a disciple of another sect. At this moment, a voice suddenly came from a stall on the side. Young men should study hard when they are old enough. Don't be fooled by the stories in novels. If you really want to learn Kung Fu, I'd like to recommend some Wudong Kung Fu manuals at a wholesale price of only 300 yuan. This is the real inheritance of ancient Wudong martial arts, which will definitely make you unique in the world and proud of your life. If you need to learn inner strength, you can also take a crash course on inner strength taught by me. Looking at the unkempt middle-aged Taoist priest in front of him selling himself, Wang Shang is trembling with excitement. Without hesitation, he chose to worship his master, expressing willingness to follow the Taoist priest to seek immortality and seek the Tao, just because he recognized the Taoist priest. It's Qing Yanzi, the Bayan Taoist master. The mighty man who was firmly in the top 5 in the heavenly ranking in his previous life is really lucky today. But Qing Yanzi was a bit helpless as he listened to his words. Kid, it would be understandable if you said you wanted to learn martial arts, but you just keep saying that you want to practice immortality and Taoism. Have you ever seen anyone who knows how to do magic? However, Wang Shang thought this was Qing Yanzi's test for him, and so he spoke at length. I feel that the Tao is a spirit, a different perception of the universe. I couldn't find the master I wanted to worship in Wudong Mountain, but as soon as I saw you, I knew you were not mortal. As soon as Qing Yanzi heard that he wasn't finished, he quickly told the boy to stop. You're a funny little guy. You're full of Taoism, but you're picky about who you want to be your master. I'm just a titular Taoist priest at Wudong Mountain. I've only taken on one disciple over the years, and I don't usually care much about her. Are you sure you want to be my master? Besides, do your parents know that you are seeking Taoism and becoming a disciple at such a young age? Wang Sheng quickly said that my parents came with me and I really want to follow you, master. After hearing this, Qing Yanzi confirmed that it was not because Wang Sheng left home to study under a teacher because he read too many novels and movies. So he told Wang Sheng, answer my 3 questions, and if I'm satisfied with your answers, then have your parents come and talk to me. Wang Sheng answered the next 2 questions asked by Qing Yanzi, both of which were related to the Tao. But when asked the 3rd question, Qing Yanzi showed a malicious smile. he gave Wang Sheng a death question. If you worship me as your master, and your father and I fall into the water together, who do you save first? Wang Sheng froze in place after hearing this. I thought, if I save master first, I would be unfilial to my parents. There is a saying in Taoism that unfilial people cannot become human beings. Saving father first would naturally go against the saying that a master is like a parent. After much hesitation, Wang Sheng finally gave the answer to save my father. But what he didn't expect was, he passed the test. Not only that, Qing Yanzi convinced his parents to let him stay in Wudong Mountain. But Qing Yanzi still told Wang Sheng, now you are only my trainee disciple. After the examination period, I will decide whether to formally accept you as my disciple or not. This is where I live. Usually it's just me and your senior sister. In the meantime, you'll be settling here with us, Wang Sheng said as he followed behind while breathing heavily. Yes, master. After arriving at the residence, Qing Yanzi introduced senior sister Mu Wanxian to Wang Sheng. Wang Sheng froze for a moment when he heard the name. Then he immediately lost his composure and became extremely excited. Because the senior sister Mu Wanxian in his previous life was known as the Buyu Fairy and by an Taoist priest Qing Yanzi as the top 10 masters of the heavenly ranking. Now that he has two masters like him protecting him, he can be domineering in the future. Seeing saw Wang Sheng giggling at the air all the time. Senior sister Mu Wanxian asks master in confusion, is he in his right mind? Qing Yanzi was silent for a moment, but he soon felt relieved. If there's nothing wrong with brain, who would be willing to send him to the mountains to suffer hardship? You are a senior sister, take care of your junior brother more in the future, Mu Wanxian nodded. Then several people came to the house. Qing Yanzi once again solemnly told Wang Sheng, although you call me master, you still need a period of examination before you can formally worship me. You have to be mentally prepared. If you can't hold on, I won't force you to stay on the mountain, you know? Wang Sheng immediately straightened his back and said, as long as master doesn't kick me off the mountain, I won't give up. Afterwards, Qing Yanzi arranged for him to first go and grind 2 sacks of wheat into flour. Wang Sheng takes off his coat and goes straight to work. First put a handful of wheat, then start grinding and do it step by step. This lack of arrogance was also seen by Qing Yanzi. Soon the sun shines through the clouds, dispelling the cold air around. Qing Yanzi greets Mu Wanxian as he comes out to practice. The two of them sat down directly on their knees and started practicing. A cloud of aura coils around them. Wang Sheng is envious of this scene. It's true that even though there's a lack of spiritual energy in the earth and sky, the tradition of cultivation is still intact. Even if it's just the process of meditating and concentrating, this kind of cultivation accumulated over the years is extremely terrifying. It is no wonder that after the recovery of heaven and earth's vital energy, the cultivation speed of these monks far exceeds that of ordinary people. Thinking of this, Wang Sheng became even more vigorous, thinking that when he passes the initiation test, master will surely pass on some cultivation methods to him as well. Although it's easy to enjoy the shade under a big tree, in the final analysis, one's own strength is more important. Even if he can't beat his senior sister, he can't be too bad in the future. But for now, it's better to be practical and take things one step at a time. Seeing this scene, Qing Yanzi, who was meditating, also nodded in satisfaction. Soon the time came to noon. Wang Sheng has finally finished grinding 2 sacks of flour. But it's exhausting. Although he had been doing physical training for several months before. But after all, I have never done this kind of hard work since I was a child, so it was really hard to get used to it for the first time. At that moment, Mu Wanxian brought him a bowl of water with concern. Wang Sheng hurriedly took it and said, thank you, senior sister. After resting for a while, Qing Yanzi then arranged a room for him and told him that his room was right next to it, and that if he had anything to do, he could come and find himself. Also, after his nap, he could go down the mountain and meet his parents to reassure them. With that, Qing Yanzi left in style. But he came back after a while and waved to Mu Wanxian, who was playing with Snake, and motioned for her to come over. The two poked their heads into the room and saw Wang Sheng, who was meditate cross-legged. Only then did they retract their heads in satisfaction. Qing Yanzi didn't forget to praise, look at your junior brother, he is pretty decent. But I didn't expect that the next moment, there would be a sudden bang in the room. Then there was a loud snoring sound, and it turned out that Wang Sheng had fallen asleep while meditating. Both the master and the apprentice couldn't help laughing. This boy really can't bear the praise. After waking up, Wang Shang went down the mountain to report to his parents that he was safe. Then he took the bedding and went back to the mountain. But what he found strange was this. Obviously there was spring water on the mountain for them to use, so why did the master want him to buy 2 cases of the cheapest mineral water back from the bottom of the mountain? But Wang Sheng didn't think too much about it, thinking that the master must have his reasons for doing so, and that he just needed to do as he was told. But when he returned to the mountain gate, he was petrified in place. Asked he in disbelief what master was doing? At that moment, Qing Yanzi was writing on the mineral water with a brush. After I finished writing, the cheapest bottle of mineral water became the holy water of Wudong Mountain. Wang Sheng froze in his tracks. It took a moment for Qing Yanzi to notice him. He also proudly introduced his side business, which is specially designed for those praying for blessings. Each bottle ranges from 20 to 100 yuan, and he can sell more than 10 bottles a day. This also completely collapsed some aspect of master's image in Wang Sheng's mind. Qing Yanzi then told Wang Sheng to go to the backyard. He was going to demonstrate a set of punches as an introductory benefit for Wang Sheng. Wang Sheng was full of surprise. He didn't expect to be able to practice kung fu so soon. Soon the two of them arrived at the backyard. After Qing Yanzi demonstrates a set of punches, he instructs Wang Sheng to practice them. After the entire set of punches, Wang Sheng felt his body heat up, and a current of qi seemed to flow through his body. This set of punches taught by the master is simple, but it has a hidden Taoist rhythm. Wang Sheng didn't expect to learn such a subtle technique right after he started. This made him overjoyed, and he decided to practice this set of boxing today. So without realizing it, Wang Sheng practiced until dark. But when I turned my head, I realized that my senior sister had fallen asleep leaning against the door. Wang Sheng had no choice but to go up and wake her up, telling her to go back to bed. Mu Wanxian answered in a daze. He then walked straight towards the house, looking at his senior sister's back. Wang Sheng thought of what his master said before. The senior sister had a serious illness when she was a child, and this was the pathogen of her reluctance to talk. As the senior brother himself, he must take good care of his senior sister in the future. But as he thought about it, a piece of clothing suddenly fell on his head. Seeing the senior sister's sleepy eyes, she was about to take off the last piece of clothing, revealing the see no evil scene. Wang Sheng hurriedly closes her eyes and gives the clothes back to senior sister, telling her to go inside and change into her pajamas again and go to bed. He said good night and closed the door with a bang. Wang Sheng then went back to his room, but was still red in the face as he thought about what had just happened. I didn't expect my senior sister to be completely defenseless in front of me. But I, my quasi-junior brother, can't take advantage of her. But the current senior sister is too different from the Buyu fairy I remembered from my previous life, right? At that moment, he suddenly felt a sharp pain in arm. It seems to be caused by the boxing during the day. As expected, today's formal practice was not that easy, but Wang Sheng was not discouraged for a second. Instead, he was ready to meditate for a while before going to bed. But only just after sitting cross-legged in the meditation position, his eyelids couldn't help but press down, and then he directly fell asleep. After an unknown amount of time, in a haze he seemed to see a man in front of him, asking if he was awake. Wang Sheng rubbed his eyes to see the visitor. He sat up with a start. It turned out to be his master, Qing Yanzi, who had arrived. Qing Yanzi told Wang Sheng to lie down and sleep. He came here because Wang Sheng studied martial arts a little older, his meridians were blocked, and his body was a little too stiff. That's why going to help Wang Sheng push his bones and revitalize his veins. As he spoke, Qing Yanzi pressed his hands on Wang Sheng's stomach. Wang Sheng could feel that master's palms seemed to carry an alternating hot and cold true qi. This should be the internal breath that martial arts practitioners have been pursuing. Nowadays, the earth's vital energy has not been revived, and the master has achieved this kind of accomplishment by virtue of his hard cultivation since he was a child, so he should have put in a lot of hard work. Now master would actually use the internal energy that was not easy to cultivate to push his bones and revitalize his veins, which moved him to tears. Since this was the case, he couldn't let his master down. So the next day, Wang Sheng woke up early to practice his kung fu. I don't know if it's a psychological effect, but ever since he was trained by the master, Wang Sheng felt as light as a swallow, and his spirit was much stronger than yesterday. Qing Yanzi saw this and nodded slightly. Not bad, it's decent. Yesterday was just to get you acclimated, today won't give you much of a break, be prepared for that. Wang Sheng became more energized after hearing this, although Master said that he would give him more training. But he was not lay out a training that exceeded his limit. It's nothing more than exhausting his energy and feeling deep fatigue. And the master would push his bones and vitalize his veins once every 3 days. Because of the residue of Master's inner energy in his body, after 2 or 3 times, he could already feel the approximate location of his meridians throughout his body. Taking this opportunity, Wang Sheng also tried practicing the basic techniques he got in his previous life, though it was still ineffective. However, the frequency and quality of elimination of turbid qi from the body has increased significantly. The only fly in the ointment is the turbid air. The effect is very obvious. Senior sister is holding her nose in disgust, quickly escaped from his room. However, Qing Yanzi showed a smile. Think Wang Sheng is indeed a good prospect. Soon a month passes, and Cheng Yanzi calls Wang Sheng to him. Tell him, you've been here for a month now, and now that you've passed the initiation test, you have performed well. I will invite an elder from the sect to come over as a witness and perform the formal initiation ceremony for you. Tomorrow morning, you will rise and take a bath, and at noon, the ceremony will be held. The next day at noon, Qing Yanzi invited Master Uncle Li to be his witness. Let Wang Sheng kneel in front of the ancestor of the sect. Only then began the formal apprenticeship ceremony. Now that you've been initiated, you must know your master's lineage. Our lineage comes from our late master, LV Dongbing. After you enter the sect, you will become the Yuzi generation. Your senior sister's Taoist name is Buyu, your Taoist name is Feiyu. Today, I will pass on to you a copy of the sutra left by the pure Yang immortal of this sect, and give you half a month to copy it, so that you can honor this sutra as the foundation of your future cultivation. Wang Sheng respectfully received the scripture. He thanked the master for passing on the Dharma with a look of surprise on his face. After the ceremony, Qing Yanzi is going to accompany Master Uncle Li to a fasting, and asks Wang Sheng and his team to clean up the place. Once the two of them left, Wang Sheng habitually asked his senior sister if she wanted to go for dim sum. But when he turned his head, he realized that his senior sister had already disappeared. It turns out you have already started eating. This also makes Wang Sheng can't help but sigh. Senior sister's skill action is really out of this world. It's worthy of being in the top 10 of the heavenly ranking. But looking at her like this, it's really hard to relate her to the image of the Buyu fairy. After eating the snack, Wang Sheng begins to read the scriptures given to him by the master. At that moment, senior sister suddenly tapped him on the shoulder. She takes out a grape and feeds it to him. Wang Sheng turns his head and the grape goes into his mouth. Smiled and said, "Thank you, senior sister." Mu Wanxian then sat down on a chair and ate grapes while listening to Wang Sheng recite the scriptures. She couldn't help but think of the master's previous words telling him to take good care of her junior brother, and she decided that in the future, she would be even more motivated to take care of her junior brother. The day after the apprenticeship ceremony, Qing Yanzi began to teach Wang Sheng all the knowledge of Taoism exercises, scriptures, and so on. Naturally, the center of gravity of the Taoist sect today is the cultivation of the martial arts. Since it has been 2 months since Wang Sheng was initiated, Qing Yanzi asked Mu Wanxian to explore him. To be precise, martial arts cultivation is the practice of self-protection. When the vitality of heaven and earth is still there, monks should not only cultivate Taoism and mind. They also practice Taoist techniques to protect themselves, to defend the way, and to be chivalrous. The Taoist arts of Qimeng Zuanjia, Tui and 8 trigrams, Taoist arrays, talismans, Dan Dao, and weapon refining, these Taoist arts were once glorious in their day. It's a pity that the earth's vitality gradually dried up. After all, it's hard for a clever woman to make a meal without rice. Until now, Taoism has become nothing more than a showpiece. People who practice Taoism have lost the vitality of heaven and earth, but they still need to cultivation of body-protecting skills. Therefore, the part of Taoism that is good at fighting was carried forward. This is the origin of martial arts cultivation. It's also known as the Taoist martial arts. After a half-morning of martial arts sparring with his senior sister, Wang Sheng was directly abused to the point of self-imposed isolation. He was even a bit skeptical about life. He practiced so hard, but he couldn't even touch the corner of his senior sister's coat. Is the gap between himself and the masters really that big? So Wang Sheng asked his senior sister, with a sobbing voice, "If I am bullied in the future, you must fight back for me." Senior sister smiled and nodded. At that moment, Master Qing Yanzi greeted Wang Sheng and came over. Today he is going to teach Wang Sheng a Taoist martial art that can rival senior sister Mu Wanchuan's Liang Yi Bagua. This set of swordsmanship is called the 7-star sword formation, and emphasizes the transformation of the body and the pace of movement. If you have practiced it to the fullest, you will not see the sword in your heart, and the Big Dipper will destroy all the demons in the world. After that, I saw Cheng Yanzi's toes pointing, and he changed into countless shadows. He stepped on the footsteps of the 7 stars, and the inner energy around him was surging. Finally the 7 swords are united in one point. Wang Sheng was shocked when he saw the shadow of the sword transformed into a subtle scene of 7 swords in one. This is the Taoist fortune that is driven by heaven and earth's vitality. Isn't heaven and earth's vitality not revived yet? How on earth did Master do that? While Wang Sheng was still in a daze, Qin Yanzi had already finished his demonstration of swordsmanship. He put the branch on Wang Sheng's hand and said, "If you can achieve some success in practicing this set of swordsmanship in 3 years, then your qualifications will be considered to be superior. Don't be in a hurry, let's start with the basic dismantling moves first." Wang Sheng nodded very seriously. "I will not fail Master's hard work. As long as I keep up my pursuit, I will one day be able to touch the corner of my senior sister's coat." Qin Yanzi heard that he was so unambitious, he directly bounced his brain. "Look at you." Wang Sheng covered his head and smiled naively. "This is just a short-term goal. I'm nowhere near as good as my senior sister now, but I don't want to be inferior to senior sister in the future. After all, if you have such a lovely senior sister, of course should protect her." Qin Yanzi smiled after hearing that. "That's more like it." Wang Sheng then continued practicing the 7-star sword formation. "With the help of more than 30 years of experience in practicing Taoism in my previous life, in just one afternoon's time, he had already memorized a small half of the entire set of sword techniques. However, he didn't have the slightest intention of relaxing down, because in his last life, he was suffering from the lack of systematic cultivation techniques. Such a great opportunity is before him in this life. If he doesn't work hard, he will really feel sorry for this rebirth. And compared to his senior sister, he's still far behind. So, practice hard. Soon, summer and autumn pass, and winter comes. Wang Sheng has been on the mountain for half a year without realizing it. Through this period of time together, he knew more and more about his master and senior sister. More and more, he felt like a wood-chopping boy who accidentally got mixed up in the den of immortals, because his master and senior sister are real monster. Senior sister's mind is pure and free of distractions, and her realization of the way is almost engraved in her bones. If it is said that a layman like him can only follow the way without practicing it, and senior sister is walking in the world along with the Tao, it's just that this senior sister doesn't seem to understand much about men and women. Doesn't understand why there should be a difference between men and women, and that makes him very bitter. But compared to his senior sister, Master Qin Yanzi was clearly more demonic. Whether it's talking about sutras, talismans, weapons, catching ghosts, exorcisms, alchemy, or Taoist medicine, he's good at everything. Wang Sheng doesn't know how the master mastered so many skills in just 40 years of his life, with such a demonic master and senior sister by his side. During this time, Wang Sheng spent every day besides meditating, studying Taoist scriptures, and listening to his master's sermons. The rest of his time and energy was devoted to practicing the 7-star sword formation. In half a year's time, he had already familiarized himself with all of the 7-star sword formation. But in front of his senior sister, he still didn't have half the qualifications to be proud of himself. All he could do now was to keep spurring himself on to try to catch up with his senior sister, and not be left too far behind. As for Qin Yanzi, seeing Wang Sheng practicing the 7-star sword formation in half a year to a small degree, he was also doubly gratified, thinking that Wang Sheng's qualifications should be even higher than what he had expected. But since the weather is now cold and it's snowing heavily outside, so Qin Yanzi suggests that Wang Sheng should go and sleep in the same room as his senior sister from tonight onwards, so that he can be warmer. Wang Sheng quickly blushed and waved his hands. "Master, you'd better let senior sister sleep by herself, I'll be fine." However, Qin Yanzi comes up next to him with a wicked grin on his face. "What? Could it be that you even have ideas about your own senior sister?" Wang Sheng smiled awkwardly. "How could I? I'm not that kind of person." Qin Yanzi put his hand on his shoulder and said, "Keep it simple, young man. It's a good way to train your heart. By the way, remember to put new bedding on you and your senior sister. Her quilt has been used for 7 or 8 years and is no longer enough to protect her from the cold. Wang Shang looks helpless. But at night, he still had to sleep in the same room with his senior sister. At this point he was alone, cowering under the covers, wondering what Master meant. Could it be that he wanted to set him up with his senior sister? At that moment, Sis suddenly reached out and poked him in the face. Wang Sheng turned around and saw the senior sister showing a look like the junior brother is ignoring me and the baby is not happy. It seems that the senior sister is looking forward to him moving in, so his reaction is indeed a bit inappropriate. So Wang Sheng said with some embarrassment, "I'm just a little embarrassed." At this point, senior sister seems to have suddenly thought of something. Then she took out a chessboard and prepared to play a game of 5 pieces with Wang Sheng. Wang Sheng then realized that he was wrong. She was as simple as a piece of paper. She had no idea about that. But he still had to remind elder senior sister, could only play for half an hour. Otherwise, we'll be sleepy tomorrow, and master will scold us again. Soon it's time for the Lantern Festival. Wang Sheng is practicing his sword in the courtyard. This time, he had a famous teacher to teach him, and he gained much more than he did in his previous life. According to his memories of his previous life, today should be the day of the energy of heaven recovery, so he has been practicing his sword in the courtyard, and always keeping an eye on the changes in the aura of heaven and earth, prepared to inform master and senior sister at the first opportunity. Don't let them miss this opportunity. And at this moment, the master and disciple who were eating soup dumplings also suddenly stopped what they were doing. Qin Yanzi's eyes widened. The energy of heaven and earth is finally coming. Just as Wang Sheng turned his head and was about to alert master and senior sister, Qin Yanzi suddenly appeared behind him. Tell him not to talk, meditate and circulate the sex mental methods, don't miss the opportunity. Your senior sister's meridians have been cleared and she's now enter into concentration. I'll help you to clear your meridians. Wang Sheng was deeply moved. You know, the first spirit chi that comes back after 1,000 years of silence is a priceless treasure for a practitioner. If you miss it, you may never have this opportunity again in this life. But under these circumstances, the master is still concerned that his little apprentice's meridians are not fully opened. How can he repay this kind of favor in the future? Soon, with the help of Qin Yanzi, Wang Sheng's meridians were opened up all over his body. The inner chi in the whole body circulates 10 times faster than at the beginning. This should be the enhancement that the energy of the earth and sky brings to the cultivator. It seems that after today, a new era is about to begin on earth. A few moments later, Wang Sheng ends his cultivate and opens his eyes. He found his senior sister looking at him with a concerned look on her face. Wang Sheng subconsciously wanted to open his mouth to ask his senior sister if she had finished her regulating of breathing. But he was stopped from talking by his senior sister, and pointed in the direction of Master Qin Yanzi. A pillar of light shot up into the sky from where Qin Yanzi was. Qin Yanzi is breaking through cultivation, and he broke through 4 realms in a row. Wang Sheng's face was full of surprise. He could see that Master had already reached the Jusen realm and was about to break through the Shudan realm. At the same time, he couldn't help but sigh, although the vitality at the beginning of heaven and earth was good. But it's only a little bit more pure. Ordinary cultivators can't even break through the realm with it, and those who can break through the realm with it, only practitioners who have practiced Taoism for decades can do this. Master's accumulation is truly terrifying. And senior sister is so gifted that it's needless to say that her realm has improved. Even his cultivation has gone to the next level. In just one night, his body's true chi has been purified several times over. The rewards are richer than the years of cultivate in my previous life. And thanks to the true chi catalyzing in his body, his understanding of the 7-star sword formation has also stepped into another level of realm. The wooden sword he was practicing with now could no longer withstand his true chi and sword intent. As for the master, he has been enter into concentration since the awakening of the Heavenly Emperor's first yuan. It wasn't until 3 days later that master finally ended his practice. After a short rest, the master began to tell them about the world of monasticism 1,000 years ago, also warned them that the world was about to change, and that chaos would follow. As cultivators, they naturally have to shoulder the great responsibility of defending the Tao from demons. And after a short explanation, the life of the 3 masters and disciples was once again peaceful, and nothing seemed to have changed much. But with the blessing of Jin Yuan, they truly possess cultivation. Wang Sheng even practiced the 7-star sword formation to the highest level shortly afterward, using only a wooden sword, pierced through the wall. Xing Yanzi is pleased to see this. Wang Sheng scratched his head and said, "Master, do I destroy Wudong's public property?" Xing Yanzi smiled. "Not really. Soon spring and fall will come and go, and the mountains will not know the time of year." Wang Sheng also spent 3 years in Wudong Pai Mountain. But just today, the peaceful days of training were temporarily shattered by the visit of a Taoist priest. And this person who came to the door was none other than Master Uncle Li, who came to witness when he formally became a disciple. It turns out that since the Aura Qi, most sects have retrieved their heritage and naturally they are not willing to be left alone. Not long ago, more than 20 famous sects planned to hold an exchange meeting at Mashan to find out more about each other. It was because of this conference that Master Uncle Li came to ask for help from his senior brother, Xing Yanzi. Master Uncle Li was also helpless about this. The entire clan from the sect leader to the 2 elder master uncles all said that cultivation was important and instead put this on him. But his cultivation level is low, so if someone is looking for trouble on purpose, he might not be able to calm down the scene. So he came to ask for help from his senior brother, Xing Yanzi. Learning what happened, Xing Yanzi said in a deep voice, "I'm afraid I can't make it if you're looking for the Jietai Realm's monks." Master Uncle Li panicked when he heard that. "Senior brother, has your realm dropped? How is this possible?" Xing Yanzi turned his head and smiled faintly. "It's not that I've dropped, but I broke through the Shudan realm a few months ago, so it might not be appropriate for me to go there." As he spoke, Xing Yanzi also gathered a ball of true qi in his hand. The complaints were all filled with words of showing off, which made Master Uncle Li sweat profusely. "Couldn't help but scolded my senior brother 1,000 times in my heart. You're a Taoist priest, can't you stop being so pretentious? Higher realm is great, Shudan realm is great. I've only just reached the Jushin realm, can you consider my feelings?" Xing Yanzi then spoke again. "Although I can't go, my 2 disciples quite meet your requirements." Upon hearing this, Master Uncle Li's mouth dropped open in surprise. "Buyu and Feiyu have broken through the Jedi realm?" Xing Yanzi sighed again in a very pretentious manner. "So. Buyu just broke through to the Jietai realm a few months ago. Feiyu favored the practice of kendo, and was a late adopter, so he is not as good as his senior sister, barely in the late Jusan realm." Upon hearing this, Master Uncle Li was directly struck down and wanted to cry. "I know that your own realm is high and your disciples' qualifications are good, but do you need to show off like this? If I wasn't so inferior to you, I'd love to fight you right now." Wang Sheng, who was hiding outside the door and eavesdropping, was trying to hold in his laughter. "Thought to myself, Master is getting more and more skillful at pretending to be a pussy. Soon it will be night." After Master Uncle Li and Xing Yanzi agreed on the matter, they took their leave. Then Xing Yanzi began to explain to Wang Sheng the things to note when taking senior sister and Master Uncle Li to the exchange meeting. However, compared to Wang Sheng, senior sister Mu Wanxian had grown up in the mountains, and her mind was pure and free of distractions. Naturally, it is inevitable to receive all kinds of advice from the master. For example, don't leave your cell phone behind when you go down the mountain. If your battery is low, use a rechargeable battery. Don't talk to strangers or get into other people's cars. The men at the foot of the mountain are all unreliable. Don't leave your junior brother's sight. Mu Wanxian all nodded and agreed. Wang Sheng smiles at his master's earnest words, but he also knows that the world under the mountain is complicated and dangerous, and it is never as peaceful as the one on the mountain. As for the senior sister, who has a simple mind and a passive attribute of being as beautiful as a fairy, it is really possible for her to be deceived. But then again, Wang Sheng has improved quite a bit in the past few years. Now help my senior sister organize her underwear, and have reached the state of remain calm. However, there are exceptions. Seeing too much of some things will indeed affect the mind of a monk. The next morning, Wang Sheng packed his suitcase and waited at the door. Xing Yanzi told him, "Remember to guard against arrogance and impetuosity when going out this time. Don't bully the weak and don't show off your Taoism. Try to keep a low profile in your life." Wang Sheng patted his chest and promised, "Master, don't worry. I'm good at keeping a low profile." At that moment, senior sister Mu Wanxian came out wearing a Taoist robe. Wang Sheng was dumbfounded, and Xing Yanzi pushed Wang Sheng and laughed. "Go over there, take a picture of the two of you. I'll send it to my friends so they can envy." Wang Sheng is a bit helpless. "Master, didn't you agree to keep a low profile?" But he still cooperated and took a picture. When they arrived at the foot of the mountain, their costumes attracted passers-by to watch and take photos. Wang Sheng smiled helplessly and told the senior sister, "If someone takes a photo of you with a mobile phone or something, just pretend you didn't see it and don't hurt anyone." Senior sister nodded her head in agreement as she ate her food. Seeing the cute look of senior sister, Wang Sheng couldn't help but laugh bitterly. Senior sister is so beautiful, if someone is a hooligan and she slaps him, can't imagine. At that moment, her master Uncle Li waved towards the two of them. Wang Sheng took his senior sister to meet his master uncle. Then Master Uncle Li introduced them to a few other third-generation disciples of the Wudong school of thought. They are the sword practitioner, Zhou Yinglong, the body practitioner, Hao Ling and Meng Hong. Wang Sheng, judging from their aura, they've clearly reached the Jushin realm. In his heart, he could not help but sigh. The strength of the Wudong sect should not be underestimated. It's just that the core of the Wudong sect's heritage belongs to the Jinwu lineage, and most of their teachings are similar to martial arts. In today's revival of true Qi, I'm afraid that Taoist martial arts will be belittled or even ignored by other sects. Thinking about this, Wang Sheng and his senior sister followed the crowd to the car. After getting into the car, Wang Sheng saw that elder senior sister had been looking out the window and couldn't help but ask, "Looking forward to it?" Unexpectedly, senior sister backhanded him with several emoticons. Wang Sheng was a bit helpless with this maneuver. He bought the mobile phone for his senior sister when he went down the mountain to do errands before. After changing his cell phone, his senior sister has gotten better at playing emoticons. Nowadays, if we evaluate senior sister's ability to replace her moods with emoticons, I'm afraid it's even higher than her force cultivation. At the same time, Wang Sheng also made up his mind. In his last life, he only lived to be 31 years old, and didn't really get to see a lot of things. This time everything was different, and he must protect those around him. Soon after, the bus arrived at the hotel at the foot of the Maoshan sect, because the monastic assembly will officially start tomorrow afternoon. So Master Uncle Li asked them to have a good rest during this period. Or they can walk around and visit, but don't be too tired. So they rested at the hotel for the night. But the next morning, the senior sister was alone in the room, playing with her mobile phone and sulking. Wang Sheng carefully opens the door and asks, "Senior sister, are you waiting for me? Why are you angry?" Unexpectedly, the senior sister gave him a come and comfort mnemonic and backhand. It turns out that when we checked into the hotel last night, the senior sister wanted to sleep in the same room as Wang Sheng, like on the mountain. But this is the outside world and Wang Sheng thought it was inappropriate and refused, and she got angry. So today he came over early in the morning to coax the senior sister. He also said that he would take his senior sister out for a walk. After all, it's not easy to come to Maoshan sect, so how can we buy some souvenirs or something for master to bring back? Coincidentally, at this time, the fellow disciples were also going out to buy something. They decided to go out for a walk and enjoy the flavor of the Maoshan sect. However, just as they were wandering around, a voice suddenly came from behind them. "Wonder which Taoist sect you are from. I'm Lu Yunji of the Maoshan sect. Nice to meet you." The people turned around and introduced themselves. "My name is Zhou Yinglong of the Wudong sect." After a brief exchange of pleasantries, both sides went their separate ways. This false greeting made Wang Sheng a little confused, that didn't know what the Maoshan sect was playing. Just simply coming to say hello? But before he can get very far, he suddenly hears a taunt from behind him. Now all sects are practicing Taoism and enlightenment. What's the point of the Wudong disciples coming over here? Are they going to perform swordplay and boxing? Wang Sheng turned his head to take a look and instantly understood. It turns out that they came out for a walk early to explore the capabilities of other sects. Seeing them so arrogant, soon someone couldn't help but hit one of the yellow-haired boys with something. Yellow-haired man was attacked and shouted, "Who? Who is attacking in secret?" Wang Sheng turned his head to look at his senior sister. Doesn't need to think about it to know that it must be senior sister's doing. So he took his senior sister's hand and turned around to leave. After all, if you don't run away after doing something bad, do you stay here looking for a fight? And the two Maoshan sect disciples were shouting angrily from where they were. Who the hell is it? Dare to do it, dare not admit it? What's the point of hurting people with hidden arrows? If you think that I, a Maoshan disciple, am not good enough, you can come out and compete. At that moment, Lu Yunji bent down and interrupted them. If you two hadn't been talking behind your backs, you wouldn't have gotten hit. Lu Yunji said, picking up the thing he just attacked Yellow Hair with from the ground. found that it turned out to be an intact steamed dumpling. Even the dumpling wrapper was not broken. Seeing this, Lu Yunji couldn't help but think, the cultivation shown by this dexterity will not be inferior to that arrogant bastard from Longhu Mountain. Worthy of being a Wudong sect, there are really powerful people in the younger generation. Soon it's afternoon, in front of the plaza of the Maoshan sect's Chongxi Palace. All the people from the immortal cultivation sect gathered here. Master Uncle Li walked at the front of the line and greeted the crowd warmly. But there were still many immortal cultivation sects talking about the Wudong sect. It's not like fists, feet, and swords are the order of the day anymore. Wudang sect actually came to join in the fun? They actually found a beautiful female disciple to attract attention. They must have been hired with money, right? Wang Sheng was a bit helpless as he listened to these comments. Heaven and Earth's vital energy has just recovered, so it's understandable that Taoist martial arts are not taken seriously. But can you please keep your discussion voice down a little? Otherwise, I'm afraid I won't be able to hold my senior sister back. As expected, as soon as Wang Sheng turned his head, he saw my senior sister sending him another "I'm going to hit Tenimotic" packet. Now Wang Sheng didn't know what to do. At this point, Master Uncle Li sighed. You all know what's going on right now. All the sects are ready to see us make a fool of ourselves. Later, during the Taoist exchange session, someone will most likely ask you to compete in martial arts. Speaking of this, Master Uncle Li suddenly looked at Mu Wanxian with glowing eyes, showing an amiable smile. Bu Yu, as long as you take a little action to calm the situation when the time comes, we can spend today safely. Upon hearing this, Wang Sheng was about to say that Master had instructed them to keep a low profile, but before he could finish his sentence, senior sister just nodded her head in agreement. This also made Wang Sheng feel helpless and couldn't imagine what the scene would be like later. Guess you'll just have to fend for yourselves. At this point, an elderly Taoist from the Maoshan sect announced the official start of the conference as the presiding officer. The first part of the meeting is for the disciples of each sect to demonstrate their cultivation. When he heard this, Wang Sheng understood at once. This Dao sect exchange conference is actually a Dao sect mapping conference, right? However, before going on stage, he reminded his senior sister that in a moment, you were to go on stage. Don't show too much of your skills if you don't have to, just reveal your cultivation. The senior sister nodded. Then a Maoshan sect disciple stepped forward. Since this is the case, then I, the Maoshan faction, will show it first and use it as a throwing bricks to attract Jade. Immediately after that, only saw him walk onto the stage, pulled out a talisman and said, "Watch the moves." Starts pouring aura into it. The talisman is gradually taking shape. With a swish sound, the talisman actually turned into a sword, and then it's gone again in a flash. After watching this Maoshan disciple's performance, Wang Sheng and his senior sister were speechless for a while. Just this. Of course, it's impossible for them to share their real martial arts techniques. At that moment, a teasing voice suddenly came from behind him. Is this the famous Maoshan Dao method? It's awesome. When I was a child, could watch it 3 times under the overpass for $1, and I was still asked for change. This really gives our 3 talisman sects a glory. Wang Sheng and his senior sister looked for the sound. They saw a young man with yellow hair, lying on a chair not far from them. It looks like he should also be from the 3 talismanic clans. I just don't know if he's from Longhu Mountain, or if he's an heir to Gezhou Mountain. But Wang Sheng heard him sound like he had some problems with the Taoist masters of the Maoshan sect. At this point, the old Taoist who was presiding over the tournament stepped forward to smooth things over. The 3 talismanic clans each have their own strengths, and naturally they have their own highlights. We asked the next Taoist to show. As soon as the words came out of his mouth, Zhou Yinglong, representing the Wudong sect, came on stage with a sword, ready to perform the Wudong sect's Tai Yi sword technique. But before the performance could begin, there was a burst of laughter from the stage. The Wudong sect swords are indeed exquisite, but today everyone is displaying Taoist techniques. It's not quite right to perform swordplay, is it? Doesn't the Wudong sect have the skills to control a sword? That's right, before there was no vitality in heaven and earth, the Wudong sect didn't care about the so-called sword control technique. Listening to the jeers of the people below the stage, Zhou Yinglong on the stage could not help but break out in a cold sweat. At this time, that yellow-haired youth spoke again. You don't talk nonsense, or this Wudong senior brother will kill you all with his sword chi. This statement instantly caused everyone to laugh. Zhou Yinglong is at a loss as to what to do. At that moment, Wang Sheng walks up. Brother Zhou, let me do it. Zhou Yinglong thought for a while. Master Uncle said that his junior brother has a profound knowledge of swordsmanship. It is indeed more suitable for him to take the stage than me, so handed the sword to Wang Shang with both hands. I'm not good at martial arts, so I'm sorry for the trouble, junior brother. Wang Shang took the sword and humbly returned. The sword skill of my senior brother has a divine light within it, so some fleshly-eyed mortals can't recognize it. I happen to have some fancy sword moves, which are just right for demonstration. Wang Shang then closed his eyes and stood still, muttering under his breath. The sword rises to pick the stars, the sword falls to make the moon appear bright. How does the sword technique not count as a Dao technique? After saying that, Wang Shang jumped up in the air and his sword chi overflowed. The presiding old Taoist could not help but exclaim in shock. Tongming sword heart. This is definitely the Tongming sword heart recorded in the ancient books. Then Wang Shang began to demonstrate the 7-star sword formation. He transforms into countless shadows, and his feet are in the 7 stars. The final thrust of the sword is toward the sky. He actually pierced several holes in the sky above. Everyone was shocked by this scene. What realm was this? To be able to have such amazing sword Dao enlightenment, was this person a sword immortal? But he's only a 3rd-generation disciple, right, and he's still in the Juxing realm. After the demonstration, Wang Shang puts away his sword and prepares to leave the stage. Now no one will dare to underestimate the Wudong sect. After stepping down, Wang Shang returned his sword to Brother Zhou. But when Zhou Yinglong took the sword, he felt that it was not a good idea to call Wang Shang his senior brother. Ask Wang Shang if it's too late to change his name to senior? Wang Shang was speechless. Senior brother, you're joking. The master then announced that it would be a good time for all the sects to check their strengths and make up for their shortcomings. Fellow Taoists needn't have any constraints, they can ask each other for advice. Mu Wanxian immediately got excited when he said that. She looks like he's ready to try, and Wang Shang looks helpless for a while. Can only ask my senior sister, do you really have to go up and compete? Undoubtedly, senior sister nodded with glowing eyes. She then pointed to a corner, signaling Wang Shang to look over there. Wang Shang turns his head and realizes that the yellow-haired young man from earlier is staring at them. Then he got up from his chair, coming towards their direction. Wang Shang initially suspected that this guy was trying to seduce on his senior sister. But when the yellow-haired youth got closer, he realized something was wrong. The person this guy was looking for was actually himself. Good thing Lu Yunji of the Maoshan sect came over at that moment. A greeting diverted the yellow-haired youth's attention. Only Sa Lu Yunji took the initiative to speak. I would like to take the liberty of asking for advice on the talisman Taoism of Longhu Mountain. Can Taoist Master Shi Qianzhang of your sect have another discussion with his disciples? Shi Qianzhang smiled and sighed, scratching his head helplessly. What's the matter? How? Are you still not convinced by your defeat last time? Okay, anyway, not afraid that the sword-playing guy from Wudong clan will run away. It won't take much time to defeat you, come on. However, when he heard Shi Qianzhang call him a sword-playing guy, Wang Shang immediately had black lines on his face. Kind of wanted to go up and give him a sword, but resisted the urge. The two then got into the ring. Lu Yunji remains expressionless. Shi Qianzhang, on the other hand, smiles and asks him what he's going to contest this time. Lu Yunji drew his sword and replied decisively. Naturally, it's still the talismanic method. At this moment, only Shi Qianzhang laughed out loud. Then I will make you convinced today. As he spoke, he used his ability to create things out of thin air. Wang Shang was also amazed at this scene. Didn't realize that there were such magical talismans in the talisman method. However, Lu Yunji has been practicing since he was a child, and has been nurtured by his sect, so it's not surprising that he is in the middle of the Jushan realm. But this Shi Qianzhang has actually reached the late Jushan realm. Now that the energy of heaven and earth has just been restored, those who can enter the Jushan realm and the younger generation are the ones who can make it. If this Shi Qianzhang doesn't have amazing qualifications, then there must be something magical about Longhu Mountain's Taoism. At this moment, Lu Yunji put his hand on the sword. And then he made a small stroke. Countless talismans hovered around him. Just saw him raising the sword in his hand and shouting, Shangqing's law ordered Ji Leiyin. In the next second, 3 talismans flew out from the clouds. This was followed by a loud rumbling sound. A thunderbolt struck down. Shi Qianzhang puts his hands in his pockets, takes a step back and laughs. This is the same trick again, so uninspired. But Lu Yunji's attack didn't stop. Instead, he continued to use his Thunderbolt Zhengfa and slashed out with his sword. Combined with the double buff stacking of Divine Walking Talisman and Ape Jumping Talisman, triggers countless thunderbolts toward Shi Qianzhang. But Shi Qianzhang still has his hands in his pockets. Easily dodged these attacks as if you were strolling in a garden. When he was almost done playing, he decided to show some real skills, and immediately pulled out 2 talismans. The talismans transformed into a crane and a snake, and attacked Lu Yunji. Lu Yunji swings his sword and cuts the snake and crane in half, but Shi Qianzhang just smiles and snaps his fingers, and created talismans with multiple attributes out of thin air. At once, the 4 elements attacked Lu Yunji in an overwhelming manner. Shi Qianzhang directly and arrogantly stated, "If you can force me to use a charm costing more than over 100 yuan today, I will lose." Lu Yunji feels insulted and yells, "Shut up!" Immediately deciding to use his full strength, countless talismans surrounded him at once, formed a golden protective shield, blocking Shi Qianzhang's 4 elemental attacks. Seeing this, Shi Qianzhang still calmly took a few steps back with one hand in his pocket, throwing out 2 black talismans. The next second, the 2 talismans turned into countless butterflies. In just a moment, Lu Yunji was surrounded. And then he's completely drowned. But at that moment, the black butterfly suddenly emitted rays of golden light. Lu Yunji formed a seal with both hands, and a dazzling golden light erupted, dispersing all the black butterflies. Seeing this scene, Wang Sheng on the stage was also a bit surprised. Didn't realize that Lu Yunji's robe was actually a magic weapon. Although it seems that the robe is not of a high grade, it requires a lot of true essence and spiritual thoughts to support it. But to see a real Taoist artifact, it's not a wasted trip. The senior sister next to him is also looking at the stage with glowing eyes, eager to give it a try. Still have the ideas to go up and take off this Taoist robe for my junior brother to wear. Shi Qianzhang on stage suddenly smiled. A magic weapon that has been passed down for thousands of years is handed over to a Jushan realm disciple. The Mashan sect is really shameless. But, we old guys from Longhu Mountain are quite shameless too. It's a coincidence that they gave me such a gadget earlier. With that, Shi Qianzhang pulled out a crescent moon-shaped jade. Then he laughed. "How's it going? Everyone is shameless now." Lu Yunji didn't know what it was for, but that piece of jade was obviously a magic weapon as well. However, since he had already used his bottom card, there was no room to lose this sparring match. So he decisively decided to strike first. Instantaneously, a huge golden light slammed down towards Shi Qianzhang. Shi Qianzhang still has his hands in his pockets. He just swayed left and right casually a few times to avoid these attacks. Immediately afterwards, he gently threw the crescent-shaped magic weapon into the sky. The jade immediately attached itself to his forehead. In just a moment, Shi Qianzhang's aura skyrocketed, choking his hands and reciting incantations. "Shout loudly, get up!" A blue protective shield instantly rose around, blocked Lu Yunji's extremely swift attack. Shi Qianzhang then produced several black talismans. With a single point, all the talismans attacked Lu Yunji in unison. Lu Yunji saw that the situation was not good and quickly raised his golden protective cover to ward off the attack. However, he didn't expect that the black talisman was about to hit him when it did. Suddenly, a large amount of red liquid dripped out, and then attached itself to the golden protective cover. Seeing this scene, all the Mashan sect disciples in the audience exclaimed, "Despicable, damn it! Black dog's blood? It's really shameless." And Lu Yunji on the stage after the black dog blood broke the protective shield. Because of a momentary lapse of caution, he was cut on the face by a flying black talisman. He touched the blood on his face. Lu Yunji lowered his sword. With great difficulty, uttered 3 words. "I lost." In the end, Shi Qianzhang was better in this battle. Wang Sheng can't help but marvel at the fact that this Dragon Tiger Mountain air is really something. Suddenly, Master Uncle Li's voice came from the side. "That Shi Qianzhang is more than simple." Wang Sheng is a bit puzzled. "Master Uncle, do you know him?" Master Uncle Li nodded with a serious face. "I've heard that he's been a monk at Lung Fushan for 6 years now. He mastered the basic talisman technique before the return of heaven and earth's energy. After the return of the Yuan Qi of heaven and earth, he has even comprehended the upper and lower books of the Longhu Mountain Fulu Tianshu in a short period of time. At such a young age, he had already created a dozen or so of his own talismans. Nowadays, he is the #1 person of the young generation of Longhu Mountain, and he has been directly coached by the heavenly master of Longhu Mountain, so his future is unlimited. After listening to Master Uncle Li's introduction, Wang Sheng couldn't help but fall into deep thought. It was reasonable to say that if this Shi Qianzhang had such potential, why had he not heard of him in his previous life? Did he meet some kind of disaster and die early? Otherwise, with his trash-talking and flamboyant personality, how could he be unknown? At this time, Shi Qianzhang on the ring suddenly teased. "That sword-playing guy from Wudong clan, let's make some gestures." As soon as he finished speaking, everyone's eyes were focused on Wang Sheng in the crowd. Wang Sheng himself was dumbfounded, thinking of the master's advice to keep a low profile before leaving. But then he glanced at the expectant gazes of his senior sister and a few of his fellow disciples. If he retreated without a fight like this, he would only leave the Wudong sect with a reputation of cowardice and fear, so he decided to answer the fight. Standing up from his seat, he said, "Senior brother Ringlong, let me borrow your sword for a while." Hearing that Wang Sheng came to the stage and asked others to borrow his sword, the other disciples in the audience started to boo. How little does the Wudong sect value its disciples that they won't even give them a sword? Look at the disciples of Ma Shan and Longhu Mountain, they throw talismans like they don't need any money. At this moment, senior sister suddenly tugged on Wang Sheng's coat, her face full of worry. Wang Sheng held his senior sister's hand and softly comforted her. "Senior sister, don't worry, it'll be fine." At those words, senior sister's face instantly turned red. Then she started cheering for Wang Sheng. Before going on stage, Master Uncle Li advises Wang Sheng to take care of his safety. "Even if you lose, you'll be fine. This kind of reputation is nothing." Then Wang Sheng stood on the ring. After the two of them reported to each other their respective sects' teacher's Taoist name, Shi Qianzhang suddenly pointed to Mu Wanxian in the audience and said, "Dude, can you give me your senior sister's contact info? How about we make a bet, and if you lose later, give me your senior sister's contact information." Wang Sheng just faintly replied, "Let's talk after the fight." But heart is already burning with anger, this guy really deserves a beating. And then the contest begins. Shi Qianzhang first sends out 3 talisman attacks. The talismans transformed into 3 flames and lunged towards Wang Sheng. Wang Sheng dodges to the right and leaves a shadow behind, easily dodging this blow. At that moment, a huge black shadow instantly enveloped him. Looked up, it was actually a huge crane that was transformed from talismans. It's lifting up its huge claws and grabbing at him. Wang Sheng jumped up and dodged the move. Then he used the steps of the 7-star sword formation to instantly scatter the cranes. In the next second, he appeared in front of Shi Qianzhang, who was taken aback. Shi Qianzhang used his ape jumping charm to jump up in the air and prepare to attack Wang Sheng at a distance. But before he could land on the ground, Wang Sheng had already appeared behind him. Shi Qianzhang quickly turns around and tries to distance himself from Wang Sheng again. But Wang Sheng didn't give him a chance this time. Countless afterimages directly transformed and surrounded him. And then he finds the right moment to draw his sword. So fast that Shi Qianzhang had no time to react, and the sword was already on his neck. Shi Qianzhang recognized that he had lost the battle. "Big brother, don't get excited. I have no desire for our senior sister." Seeing that he conceded, Wang Sheng also drew back his sword. Turning around, he prepares to step down. But he's stopped by Shi Qianzhang. Then Shi Qianzhang smiled and said, "Brother, I'm not convinced. How about a rematch? Otherwise, I'll be like Lu Yunji harassing me and go to the Wudong sect every day to see you for a match." Wang Sheng turned his head to Shi Qianzhang and was speechless for a while. I don't understand why the masters of Lung Fushan don't care about this guy. And Shi Qianzhang is thick-skinned enough to continue. "Come on, brother. You're my blood brothers from now on. Let's fight again. If I lose this time so quickly, I'll never ask to fight you again, because I simply can't stand others winning against me. It's only for me to win against others." As soon as these words came out, even the audience couldn't listen anymore. They all shouted to Shi Qianzhang to come down quickly and stop being embarrassed. And Wang Sheng, in order not to be pestered by this guy again in the future, only sighed helplessly and agreed to come down. Shi Qianzhang was excited. He closed his eyes and recited a spell to build up his strength. Use all the talismans available and prepare to use a big move. And Wang Sheng, in order to convince him to lose, just drew his sword without interrupting him. But I'm still a little worried that he'll keep pestering afterward. So it was decided that since that's the case, we'd let him go all out first, and then throw a pot of cold water down on him, so he can realize what despair is. Shi Qianzhang suddenly opened his eyes and said with excitement, "I'm ready, come on." After saying that, he used his strongest strike on Wang Shang. The three talismanic beasts lunged towards Wang Shang. However, Wang Shang only sent out a sword chi with his hand, and he cut the three beasts in half. Shi Qianzhang is shocked, but is unwilling to admit defeat. Then he used multi-element attacks, attacking Wang Shang overwhelmingly. Wang Shang creates several shadows to avoid the attacks, and walks towards Shi Qianzhang step by step. Shi Qianzhang hurriedly used the earthen wall to resist, but before his earthen wall could rise, a gust of wind suddenly passes over him. The talisman pouch at his waist was cut in half. The next second Wang Shang appeared behind him, sword energy all over the body. Seeing this scene, there were shouts of surprise from the stage. Was that sword chi leaving the body just now? That's impossible. How old is he? Wang Shang, on the other hand, looks at the broken sword in his hand with regret. Didn't realize that even senior brother Zhou's sword couldn't withstand his true chi. Then he turned around and cupped his hands towards Shi Qianzhang and said, "Thank you." Then he went straight off the stage to find senior sister. Looks at her junior brother, who has returned from his victory. Then she immediately sent him a yay emoticon. Wang Shang smiled awkwardly, "Thank you, senior sister, for cheering me on. But I was thinking in my heart whether today's actions were too showy. But anyway, in the days to come, he will be Qing repair in the mountains, so it should be okay." At this time, the senior sister suddenly had a stare in her eyes, protecting Wang Shang behind her. Turning his head, it was Shi Qianzhang who was holding the destroyed talisman bag and walking towards them with a gloomy expression. Wang Shang put his hand on the senior sister's shoulder and said, "Let him handle this." Then he went up to Shi Qianzhang and asked him if there was anything else. Shi Qianzhang gritted his teeth at that. With a swish, he rushed forward. Everyone was startled, and quickly reminded Wang Shang, "Be careful." But I didn't expect Shi Qianzhang to start crying in the next second. "Brother, why don't you just cut me? Why did you have to cut my talisman? The materials for these black talismans are extremely expensive. I spent 30,000 for one set." Everyone was instantly dumbfounded after hearing this. At that moment, a big foot kicked over, interrupting Shi Qianzhang's attempt to continue. Then he said angrily, "Stop embarrassing yourself and go back to the gate to get you twice the amount of raw materials." But I didn't expect that Shi Qianzhang would take the opportunity to make even more outrageous demands. "Master Uncle, why don't you get me a dozen sheets of high-grade yellow paper?" Master Uncle gave him a slap with his backhand. "Get lost, I haven't even used that yellow paper material yet. Go back and stay there, or else I'll take back your magic weapon too." After saying that, he dragged Shi Qianzhang and turned to leave. But even so, Shi Qianzhang still yelled at Wang Shang, "Brother Shang, I am impressed by your swordsmanship. Add a friend on WeChat and have a meal together later." Wang Shang burst of speechless, completely convinced of this tease. After Shi Qianzhang left the stage, the conference finally got down to business, because after Wang Shang took action, no one came to look for trouble anymore. Next, they only need to quietly observe and then they can spend the entire conference smoothly. Soon it was time for the Jietai realm level competition. The other Taoist sects were all a bit afraid to go up, fearing that they would lose face if they lost. But Mu Wanxian wasn't afraid to go up and crush them. The whole process was expressionless and said nothing. The other disciples of the Taoist sect on the stage all had their mouths wide open in surprise. Wang Shang, on the other hand, was calm. "Thought to myself that the ordinary Jietai realm is no match for senior sister." After the contest, Mu Wanxian immediately headed towards Wang Shang. Wang Shang gave her a thumbs up. "Senior sister is great." Mu Wanxian breathes a long sigh of relief at the words. Once again, a smile spreads across face. At this time, discussions from other Taoist disciples came from behind. "So young, and he's already in the middle of the Jietai realm. Freak, this is the real freak." As soon as the words left his mouth, Mu Wanxian once again turned on his Jietai realm aura, and his expression became serious, instantly shocking everyone around him. Seeing the contrast between her in front of herself and in front of others, Wang Shang smiled helplessly. "Senior sister, this is really hard for you. But after today, all the great Taoist sects should have figured out the general situation of Taoism. As long as the vitality of heaven and earth continues to exist, the momentum of practicing secret techniques will continue to increase. I'm afraid the peace and prosperity won't last much longer. although a famous and upright family can restrict the behavior of disciples. But what about some scattered evil cultivators or demonic beasts that have stepped onto the path of demonization? The path of cultivation may be better in this life, but what about the other strife in the human world? At the end of his thought, Wang Sheng smiled happily. I don't want to think about it, after all, it's useless to think about it anymore. There's a lot of strength to do a lot of work, and there's a taller man to hold the roof when the sky falls down. No matter what, he will be able to walk the path of monasticism with honor in the future. And then the meeting ended. Wang Sheng is ready to leave the mountain with his senior sister and a group of fellow disciples. But I didn't expect to suddenly hear a familiar voice just a few steps away. Brother Sheng, wait a minute, Brother Sheng. Wang Sheng couldn't help but shiver at the sound of this voice. Turning head with a stiff face, asked, "What's wrong?" Then he saw Shi Qianzhang excitedly picking up his cell phone and saying, "Let's add friends, as we agreed before. We will definitely have to deal with each other in the future, so please take care of us." Wang Sheng had no choice but to add him as a friend. Then Shi Qianzhang proposed that he would like to take this opportunity to have a good chat with him about Taoism. Wang Sheng replied indifferently, "Chatting is fine, but I can't afford to pay for those talismans." Shi Qianzhang smiled. "It's okay, I was just crying like that because I wanted uncle to help me get some materials." Then falsely reported the amount. Those talismans were not worth that much. Wang Sheng was in a sweat, he could only use 2 words to evaluate him. Talent. But just as they were about to head down the mountain together, Lu Yunji's voice came from behind them. "Brother Feiyu, please go slowly and wait for me. Thanks for teaching this scoundrel a lesson today, so happy that I had to come after you to thank you." Wang Sheng arched his hand. "Brother Lu, you're welcome." Shi Qianzhang, on the other hand, picked his nose in disdain. "You are so polite when you speak, I can't help but praise you." Fake politeness. Lu Yunji immediately disliked it. "That's still better than your vulgarity." Shi Qianzhang smiles. "Defeated general, and you still dare to cause trouble in front of me." Seeing that the two of them are about to fight, Wang Sheng quickly came out to smooth things over. "Both of you are hungry, right? Let's go down the mountain and get something to eat. This is my treat tonight." Several people then went to a restaurant for dinner. In the arena, everyone represented their respective sects and naturally looked cautious. But after entering the box, it didn't take long for everyone to get acquainted. Wang Sheng also learned about Shi Qianzhang and Lu Yunji in the chat. Shi Qianzhang is the same age as him. When he was a child, he was sent to a relative in Longhu Mountain for discipline because of his naughty behavior. By chance, he discovered that he was gifted in talisman, and with the cultivation of the sect, he has become what he is today. Lu Yunji was not a stranger to him, after all, in his previous life, he was one of the 36 masters of the Dao sect. He's been practicing with his master since he was a child, and he has a lot of online fans for his strength and temperament. As for how the two of them became rivals, it all started a few years ago. Lu Yunji went to Longhu Mountain for training, but was pranked by Shi Qianzhang, and the two became enemies from then on. Later, Lu Yunji became successful in his cultivation and tried to take revenge, but was repeatedly thwarted, which led to the scene at the arena match today. Today at the ring competition, Wang Sheng and senior sister conquer many sects. The two of them came to participate under the orders of their masters. Although they defeated the others, they would not be inflated by this. After all, in today's world, it's only right to abstain from arrogance and cultivate in peace. Soon it will be night. A woman is watching a video from the Maoshan Sex Exchange Conference. She asked her subordinates to filter out the useful information as soon as possible. At this point, one of the staff members seems to have discovered something. "Captain, look at that," and with that, it brought up footage from the Wang Sheng battle. The spectators at the ring and the elders at the guest stage were each amazed, and multiple people even called him Sword Immortal. Seeing this, the captain raised his cup and asked, "Who is he?" The staff responded immediately. "This person is Wang Sheng, his Taoism name is Feiyu. According to our wiretaps and investigations, his master's name is Qing Yanzi, and he's said to be above the Jietai realm." As we speak, the staff pulls up pictures of Wang Sheng and Qing Yanzi. Captain, after seeing it, he suddenly lost his concentration and dropped the cup in his hand on the ground. Turning his head, asked, "Who did you say his master was?" After the exchange conference, Master Uncle Li specially granted Wang Sheng a few days of leave. On vacation, Wang Sheng took his senior sister home to visit his parents. Unsurprisingly, Mom and Dad approve of this daughter-in-law. Dad even secretly called Wang Sheng aside and asked him how far he and his senior sister had gotten. "Do you want to help prepare the bride price?" Wang Sheng smiled and told his father not to worry. "I will try to let you have grandchildren in my lifetime." Wang Sheng is enjoying a very comfortable life in the meantime. The only downside was that he was bombarded with text messages from Shi Qianzhang every night, making it impossible for him to sleep properly. At the end of their vacation, Wang Sheng and his senior sister finally returned to the Wudong sect. Seeing the two return, some Wudong disciples soon talked about it. "Isn't that Fei Yu's senior brother and Bu Yu's senior sister? I've heard senior brother Ring Long say that they were great at the exchange conference." It turns out that Zhou Long came back a few days ago and spread the matter about the exchange meeting all over Wudong Mountain. Now every Taoist temple in the mountain knows about Wang Sheng's and senior sister's cultivation. But even so, Wang Sheng doesn't feel superior. After all, we're all monks, although in his last life, he's been on the receiving end of a lot of looks from some of the higher-ups. But in this life, he didn't want to become the kind of person he once hated the most. The two have just returned to their residence. Master, however, asked with a serious look on his face. "On this trip to Maoshan, didn't I instruct you to keep a low profile?" Upon hearing this, senior sister was immediately frightened and cowered behind Wang Sheng's back. Wang Sheng smiled awkwardly and just wanted to explain the reason to Master, seeing the Master puffing and laughing out loud. Then he put a hand on his shoulder and said, "Good job, although we are guests live in Wudong and do not belong to the legacy of the true martial emperor, we are still considered to be monks of Wudong Mountain. This time you haven't disgraced your master, but you need to recover your mind and continue to cultivate in the mountain. Your master Uncle Li sent something yesterday, there are 2 good items in it, it's a reward for you too for this trip. I have to go to Taihe Palace to discuss matters and bring you food back in the evening." After saying this, Xing Yanzi turned around and left. At this time, Wang Sheng suddenly realized that after not seeing each other for a few days, he felt that the master was about to break through again. The two of them then went back to the house and started to check out the things that Master Uncle Li had sent to them. Perhaps it was to thank them for their efforts in the exchange conference. Master Uncle Li has prepared a lot of gifts for Wang Sheng and his senior sister. One of the gifts for him was obviously prepared with a lot of thought. This ancient sword named Wen Yuan looks ordinary. However, the sword contains sword essence, and it is obviously a weapon specially made for sword cultivators. Though not as subtle as Lu Yunji's golden witch hazel or Shi Qinzhang's crescent jade. But it is also a rare treasure. As a reward for this trip to Maoshan, it is considered a reasonable reward. After trying his hand at it, Wang Sheng went back inside and showed it to his senior sister. Senior sister takes the sword and caresses it gently. But she shook her head. Seeing this, Wang Sheng hastened to say, "Senior sister, don't worry. I won't intentionally use it to kill any living being." Wang Sheng knows that this sword is not ordinary. Senior sister must be worried that he will be affected by this sword. Only saw my senior sister rummaging through the box again. She took out a piece of jade of excellent quality and handed it to Wang Sheng. Wang Sheng quickly waved his hand. "Senior sister, I already have this sword, so this jade pendant is naturally for you." Unexpectedly, the senior sister directly sent him an emoticon saying that I am invincible in the world, and then wanted to give him this jade pendant. But Wang Sheng still waved his hand and refused. "This is a gift from Master Uncle Li, how can I take it?" Seeing that Wang Sheng didn't want it, the senior sister immediately put on a pitiful look, tears in her eyes. Wang Sheng, which can't stand it. He hurriedly said, "Senior sister, wait for me," and ran out of the house. And in no time at all, he turned back. With a blushing face, he handed a flute to his senior sister. "Originally, I wanted to wait for senior sister's birthday before giving it to her as a gift, but now I'll take it out first. If you're going to give me something, then you have to accept a gift from me as well." At those words, senior sister happily accepted the flute. After a few days of adjustment, their living states once again returned to their usual routine. Now all Wang Sheng had to do was to strive to raise his realm to the Jietai realm within a year. He also wants to feel what it means to abstain from eating. However, such peaceful days didn't last long. They hadn't even been back to the mountain for 1 month yet. Master Uncle Li ran to their small courtyard again with a sad face and shouted, "Qing Yanzi senior brother, ghosts are harming people, please help me." Wang Sheng is full of curiosity when he hears that there are ghosts, while his senior sister is so scared that her face turns white. At night, Wang Sheng went to bed as usual. but woke up in the middle of the night and realized that his senior sister was sleeping next to him. Wang Sheng's face turned red, and he turned around, ready to sit up, only to be pulled back by his senior sister. At that moment, the elder senior sister was also looking at him with a red face, then pointed to the window, and Wang Sheng heard the wind whistling outside the window and immediately understood that senior sister was frightened by the wind. So he laid down again and helped senior sister to cover up the quilt, comforting her. "Don't be afraid, go to sleep, I'm here, I have to get up early tomorrow to catch up." Later, with Wang Sheng's comfort, senior sister finally closed her eyes and fell asleep. Looking at her sleeping senior sister, Wang Sheng thinks of the time in the daytime when Master Uncle came to ask for their help in catching ghosts, and his senior sister cowered behind him in fear. He also didn't expect that his senior sister, who possessed the Jietai mirror, would be afraid of ghosts. Suddenly Wang Sheng remembered that his master had said that he had used ghost stories to stimulate his senior sister to speak. As a result, although the senior sister was able to speak, she was also afraid of ghosts. It's been more than 10 years, and Master Uncle's words, "There are ghosts," can actually scare my senior sister to the point of panic. One can only imagine how strong the master's medication was back then. However, it is also his junior brother's responsibility to comfort the panicked senior sister at this time. Early in the morning, Wang Sheng brought all his equipment with him, holding Buddha's golden body in his left hand. In his right hand, he's holding an image of the gate god, and a crucifix and garlic around his neck, euphemistically called the combination of Chinese and Western. But actually he doesn't want to do this either. So all these things were given to Wang Sheng by his senior sister before she left. After all, it's a token of senior sister's appreciation. Wang Sheng can't throw it away. So he took these things and followed Master Uncle Li to the destination this time. I just didn't realize that this was still Master Uncle Li's home in the secular world. No wonder Master Uncle Li was so secretive before, it's more or less like using power for personal gain. And before opening the altar, Wang Sheng also knew that the owner's name is Li Shishan is the big brother of Master Uncle Li. Because he has been funding Wudong in the past few years, Wudong also acquiesced in their help in exorcising ghosts. But what Wang Sheng found strange was that his master uncle had a lot of money. Why did he choose to become a monk and practice Taoism? Could it be that he encountered some changes and became disheartened by worldly things? Soon after, Master Uncle started to perform the ritual. The gods of the 5 directions are blessing us, and the sky is clear. Protectors, go and dispel the ghosts here. As soon as the words fell, Wang Sheng and Zhou Yinglong changed into 2 golden lights and disappeared. It turns out that Master Uncle Li had discussed this with them before the exorcism. The opening of the altar was just for show. He and senior brother Zhou are the ones who actually do the exorcisms. This arrangement is mainly because other people's understanding of Taoist priests still remains in some movie content. Although it is the disciples who actually do the work, the praise and achievements still need to be attributed to the master. At this moment Wang Sheng opened a bedroom door, and Comblassine Chi whistled out of it. 2 pairs of scarlet eyes peeked out of the darkness immediately afterward. 2 ghosts appeared in front of Wang Sheng. Wang Sheng's face was calm, his hands were clasped together, and he recited a magic spell. After saying this, he emitted a dazzling light. In just a moment, the house was cleared of the ghosts. A few moments later, Wang Sheng came outside to join senior brother Zhou. Senior brother Zhou said. He circled around and ran into more than 20 ghosts, and Wang Sheng was in a similar situation. This makes senior brother Zhou feel very strange. Could it be that the feng shui arrangement here has backfired? Speaking of which, senior brother Zhou seems to have thought of something. But just as he was about to say it, Wang Sheng signaled him to shut up. Beware of ears on the wall, don't mention this matter first, let's go and meet up with Master Uncle first. No matter what, this is still the home of Master Uncle. If someone is really behind this, they can't just sit back and do nothing. Meanwhile, Master Uncle Li is still holding up his sword to do his job. After all, everyone around him is watching him, and he can't just stop. In his mind, he was wondering, wasn't it just a ghost exorcism? What's taking you so long? Not back yet? Can those 2 little guys be trusted? Luckily, Wang Sheng and senior brother Zhou finally came back at this time. Master Uncle Li breathed a sigh of relief. Turning his head, he asked his elder brother to prepare a quiet room for them to recover their spirit. Soon it will be night. Wang Sheng talks to Master Uncle Li about what they have encountered today, and offers his own speculation. suspecting that there was most likely some other cultivator messing with him. Master Uncle Lee frowned upon hearing this. There are other cultivators? That's going to be a problem. And as a reborn, Wang Sheng benefited from what he had seen in his previous life. He now has a bit more insight than his master uncle, so naturally he knows some of the darker side of the immortal cultivation world. And perhaps what happened today is because the Li family's property has caused some evil cultivators to covet it. Or maybe it's because Li Shirshan offended someone and attracted retaliation from the evil practitioners. At this point, Master Uncle Li, who had been thinking hard and to no avail, finally raised his head and looked at Wang Sheng and asked, "Fei Yu, according to your opinion, what should we do?" Wang Sheng thought for a moment. If we continue to pursue them, I'm afraid the other party will do something more aggressive. We might as well do this. Half an hour later, Master Uncle Lee and his own big brother are hanging out at the estate. During the conversation, he asked his big brother if he had offended anyone in the past few years. Li Shirshan said he just stayed at home and didn't offend anyone. Master Uncle Lee told him to think about it carefully. Now I'm afraid that someone is trying to harm his whole family. But Li Shirshan still said, he definitely didn't offend anyone. At that moment, Wang Sheng is running his true essence in the room, eavesdropping on the conversation between the two. And from their conversation, he learns that the Li family seems to have done something wrong in the past. The feng shui arrangement of the manor and the time of the master uncle's monkhood both seem to be more than 10 years ago. Could there be any connection between these events? The next day, after dealing with the ghost, Master Uncle Lee is ready to go back to the mountain to resume his duties. Let Big Brother, if there is anything, notify him again, will be fine. But at night, Wang Sheng and Senior Brother Zhou return to Li Manor. It turns out that they pretended to leave in order to make the other party relax their vigilance, and then lead the snake out of the hole to catch the inner ghost. Senior Brother Zhou asked Wang Sheng how long they would have to wait, and Wang Sheng said probably until midnight, because midnight is the weakest time for Yang Qi, and the evil practitioners who raise ghosts are the most confident. Li Shirshan's family is very large, with nannies and security guards, plus a complete surveillance system that covers the entire compound. Even so, the total number of ghosts they've exorcised today is 70 to 80. Obviously not something that can be done in a day or two. If it was done by an outsider, there is no reason not to leave clues. Therefore, the culprit who released the ghost is most likely an insider. That being said, the person who set the ghost off had a very evil intent. This kind of evil that uses ghosts to suck people's young energy and destroy their families is beyond the pale. At this point, Senior Brother Zhou asked Wang Sheng, "Is it useful for us to just wait here?" Wang Sheng said, if it was a traitor, he was afraid something would happen and he would probably take action today. Now it's up to us to decide which one of us is more patient. After saying this, Wang Sheng sat down on his knees and began to release his spiritual thoughts, covering the entire Li family manor. Seeing this, Senior Brother Zhou could not help but sigh. Didn't realize that Fei Yu's spiritual senses could actually cover the entire mansion. Not to mention that my cultivation is not as good as his. I'm afraid I can't do that even if I'm in the same realm. If that's the case, then I'll protect Fei Yu. Suddenly, Wang Sheng's spirit senses it. Someone is heading towards the attic where Li Shirshan is resting. At this time, outside Li Shirshan's attic, a security guard was looking around furtively with a flashlight. Then he pulled a small sensor out of his pocket. Bite your own finger. Drop the blood on that sensor. The next second, a cloud of dark green smoke floated out of the sensor, turned into a huge ferocious ghost. It floated above the security guard's head. Then the one man and the ghost headed towards the attic where Li Shirshan was. Just as the ghost stretched out its sharp claws and was about to break right through the door, the gate suddenly emitted a dazzling golden light. The ghost is wounded by the golden light and screams. The security guard was shocked that it was a Wudong talisman. Li Shirshan is indeed well prepared, but although the talisman can prevent ghosts, can it prevent me? Just as the security guard was about to push the door in, a cold light suddenly flashed. Wang Sheng stabbed his sword towards the security guard. But what he didn't expect was that the security guard was able to dodge the sword by crashing through the door in his haste. And the ghost that was floating above the security guard's head. At this time, it had appeared behind Wang Sheng, raising its huge fist, smashed Wang Sheng hard. But what hit was an afterimage. The next second, Wang Sheng flashed in front of the ghost, decisively drew his sword and slashed towards Theghost's neck. Only a clanging sound was heard. This sword was like cutting on a stone, and it failed to hurt the ghost at all. Suddenly there was a sound from Li Shishan's room, and Wang Sheng immediately realized that something was wrong. Immediately stepped on the ghost's back, jumped straight to the second floor. Li Shishan is waking up in a daze. The security guard is ready to kill him with a small sensor. Luckily, Wang Sheng came to his rescue just in time. But the security guard is not going to stop. Leaping backward, he threw several more poison needles at Li Shishan. Just in the nick of time, Wang Sheng used his true essence to control the needles. Then he swung his sword and knocked down all the needles. Looking at the fallen needles, Wang Sheng realized that the needles actually contained an evil true element. As long as it touches the old man's face, it will be hard to save him. This evil practitioner is really poisonous. The security guard was holding a small censer and said fiercely, "Wudong disciple, mind your own business." Wang Sheng points his sword at him. "You raise ghosts and harm people, how can we, the righteous sect, sit back and do nothing?" Seeing that it is useless to speak harshly, the security guard have decided to fight Wang Sheng. After fighting for a few rounds, the security guard suddenly stopped and began to chant a spell. In the next second, the ghost broke through the window and went straight for Li Shishan. When Wang Sheng saw this, he couldn't help but think to himself, "This man wants to drag me by himself, and then command the ghost to take Li Shishan's life. What exactly is the grudge between them? But no matter what, it's important to save people first." Wang Sheng came to Li Shishan's side in an instant, stabbed the ghost in the stomach with his sword and forced it back several meters. At the same time, thinking, "I just noticed something was going on here and rushed over first. Senior brother Joe must have noticed it and is on his way. If that's the case, then let me hold off this man and ghost until senior brother arrives." When the security guard saw Wang Sheng protecting Li Shishan once again, he also burst out his strongest evil power. Immediately controlled the ghost to move towards Wang Sheng again. Wang Sheng is not to be outdone. While stepping on the 7 stars, he dodges the ghost's attacks, looking for a chance to counterattack. Suddenly Wang Sheng leaps up and gathers his entire body into his sword. The sword slashes down towards the ghost, splitting it in half. The small sensor in the security guard's hand exploded with a bang. Seeing this, Wang Sheng pursued the victory and wielded 3 sword chi. The security guard is knocked out of the room before he can dodge. With the security guard falling to the ground, the ghosts are dissipating, but didn't realize that by this time, it was the security guard at the end of his rope. He sacrificed his soul and fused it with the ghost. The ghost's body grew several times larger and spikes sprouted from its body, surrounded by a bunch of skulls. Wang Sheng couldn't help but think, how many souls did that evil cultivator use before he refined this ghost? Meanwhile, senior brother Joe finally arrived with security guard and shouted towards the house. "Fei Yu, are you okay?" Wang Sheng heard the sound and decisively jumped out of the window. Then he threw Li Shishan to senior brother Joe and told him to protect Li Shishan and take the Li family away from here. Then he turned around and slashed at Ghost again with his sword. However, the Wan Yuan sword's specialty is not killing ghosts, so it's not very effective against this kind of ghost. It's better to use talismans like Shi Qianzhan Lu and others to be more effective. Thinking about this, Wang Sheng immediately had an idea. Run the 7-star footwork, avoid the attacks of the ghosts, and shout at the same time. "Senior brother, please give Master Uncle's talisman quickly." Zhou Long hurriedly searched for the talisman. Li Shishan also turned his head and ordered his men to go and get the talismans that were posted elsewhere. At this time, Wang Sheng also had a plan to deal with this fierce ghost. "Since I can't kill you, I'll just wear you out." Then, he used the 7-star steps to create several shadows. Open the 7-star sword formation and surround the ghost in the center. Destroy ghost power with a spell. Trap his form with a sword formation. At this time, senior brother Joe finally sent the talisman. Wang Sheng caught the talisman and prepared to destroy the ghosts with the help of the ghost-repelling talisman. Wang Sheng threw the talisman bag in his hand into the sky and countless talismans flew out. Wang Sheng used his true essence sword chi to pass through the talismans to stack buffs. Unleashed a sword rain talisman attack on the night ghost in the center of the sword formation. Then the talisman hit the ghost and burst into flames. Until the end, golden flames appeared all over the ghost's body and it let out a painful cry. Wang Sheng nodded slightly in his heart. The talisman was really effective. The security guard in the attic should be dead, otherwise I wouldn't be able to deal with this evil ghost so easily. In that case, as long as we continue to consume, we'll be able to destroy the ghost. But while Wang Shang was fighting with the ghost, there is a situation with senior brother Zhou. A large group of police with guns burst in and said they received an alert that someone was trying to harm Mr. Li and came to investigate. Wang Shang sensed these people through his spiritual thoughts and hurriedly shouted, "Senior brother, stop them. Don't let them get involved. Give me 15 more minutes. This thing won't last long." Meanwhile, Li Shirshan, standing in the doorway, is explaining to the fat captain, "It's true that there are ghosts, they really didn't lie to anyone." But the fat captain didn't believe it at all. Who would believe in ghosts in this age? At that moment, there was a swoosh, and Zhou Yinglong suddenly appeared next to him and explained with a smile, "Uncle policeman, my junior brother only needs 20 minutes to drive away the evil spirits. Please be patient." But the fat captain just thinks he's a charlatan and is cajoling the old man. He had a few men security guard the side door, and immediately he was going to break right in. Zhou Yinglong hurriedly flashed instantly to the doorway in an attempt to stop them from entering, but the fat captain didn't just ignore the advice, even pulled out his gun, putting the muzzle directly against his forehead, and then had him detained for obstruction. And the reason why this fat captain dared to do that? It's because after the recovery of vitality, the official order, police officers must carry firearms on duty and are allowed to fire them under special circumstances. Zhou Yinglong could only sigh helplessly when he saw that he couldn't stop these people. That's just it. Then let them go in and have a good time. It's just, after these policemen came in, but they were so frightened by the sight in front of them that they collapsed on the ground and shouted in horror, "There is really a ghost." When the ghost saw the ordinary person, he immediately lifted a stone, smashed in their direction, seeing about to be hit by a rock. Outside the door, Zhou Yinglong broke free of his handcuffs. He dodged around to the front of the fat captain, and used a Tai Chi push hand to use his strength to fight with the force, throwing the boulder in the other direction. Then he turned around and laughed. "Officers, this ghost is irritable, please don't irritate it." Hearing this, the fat captain was immediately frightened. The men asked the captain, what to do now? This matter is beyond their ability to handle. The fat captain pretended to be calm and said, "Why are you panicking? You report the situation here to the headquarters first, while the others stick to their posts and cooperate with the Taoist priest inside to shoot the ghosts." Zhou Yinglong heard this and rushed to stop it. "Wait, ordinary bullets won't hurt the ghost, they'll only make it more dangerous. A ghost is in. To break it, you must find something with a strong yang energy. Can you get some male chicken blood, preferably that of a crow chicken?" Upon hearing this, the fat captain quickly asked people to find chicken blood. But it wasn't long before Wang Shang ran out of talismans here. Seeing that the ghosts are attacking again, he is at a loss. Luckily, senior brother Zhou spilled a large amount of chicken blood at that moment, and spilled it all over the ghost. Immediately after, the thick scales on the ghost's body gradually melted and turned into wisps of smoke. Seeing that the rooster's blood was really useful, everyone was very happy. However, at this point, the ghost hadn't been completely defeated, and instead had been completely enraged by its injuries, rushed towards them. In a moment of desperation, Zhou Yinglong made a decisive move and summoned the true martial emperor Dharma body, blocked the fierce ghost's blow, and knocked the ghost away several meters. But he likewise flew backwards a few meters. But it did create an opportunity for junior brother. Wang Shang leaps up, gathering his whole body into his sword, used the 7-star sword technique to stab the ghost's various acupuncture points. A set of swordsmanship is finished. Only 7 sword chi on the ghost's body instantly connect together. Then a bright white light suddenly exploded. The evil ghosts are also gradually disappearing in the white light. But not long after the evil ghost was eliminated, Wang Shang also suffered from excessive consumption of the real energy in his body, fainted due to lack of physical strength. Didn't pass out for long, though, but he still felt a little sluggish when he woke up. After a little breath adjustment, the state gradually recovered. After this battle, he has also gained some unexpected benefits. Now that he's at the gates of the Jietai realm, he's made a worthwhile trip. But just then, there was a knock at the door. Wang Sheng opened the door and saw that it was 2 people he didn't recognize. The 2 claimed to be members of a special investigation team specially sent to deal with incidents of ghosts hurting people. A woman's name was Mao Yu. The man's name is Din Yo. And Mao Yu is still a fan of Wang Sheng. After Wang Sheng's consent, she immediately grabbed her cell phone and took some pictures with Wang Sheng. Later, after Wang Shang reminded her, she remembered that she still had something serious to discuss. Coughed twice to indicate, "Actually, our captain wants to talk to you. Please wait a moment. Someone will send you a video call in a moment. When your call ends, we will wait outside." It wasn't long before Wang Shang received the video call. But when he clicked through and saw the person on the other side, he opened her mouth wide in surprise and shouted, "Master's wife." Looking at the woman across the video, Wang Shang remembers the Chongyang festival of his first year on the mountain. At that time he was dragged by his master to drink once. The drunken master drunkenly told him, "In the future, if you want to get a wife, you can get a wife, and if you want to have kids, you can have kids." Master is very open-minded. As long as you are devoted to your wife, Master will not stop you from being happy. Wang Shang wondered why Master suddenly talked about it. Only then did the Master tell a story about the past through the strength of his drink. It turns out that Master had fallen in love with a woman back then. But he was opposed by his master. At that time, he originally wanted to beg the master to make it happen, but the woman had a strong temperament, so she walked away and disappeared for more than 10 years without any news. It wasn't until the year before last that the trustee sent me 2 photos. Only then did Qing Yanzi find out that he actually had a child about the same age as Wang Shang. And the woman in front of him is the master's wife in the photo. Wang Shang saw that the other party did not say anything, and slightly hesitantly called out again, "Master's wife." The woman on the other side of the video sighed softly. "You still call me aunt. But there's something I'd like to ask a favor of you. Could you take a message to your master for me? Tell him if he still cares about his daughter to come and see me as soon as possible." Upon hearing this, Wang Shang immediately thought that his little junior sister might be in trouble. Immediately, he took out his cell phone and dialed the master's number, then put him on speakerphone. In his heart, he thought that as long as he could talk directly to each other, the master must have a way to win back the heart of the master's wife, right? But it wasn't long before a familiar tone came from the other end of the phone. "Sorry, the number you have dialed cannot be reached at this time." Wang Shang froze for a moment, quickly explained to master's wife, "Maybe the signal from the master is not very good at this time, right? I'll contact senior sister, don't worry first." With that, Wang Shang sent a message to senior sister. Asked senior sister where master had gone, she quickly sent an emoticon back, said the master left a letter and ran away without even saying a word. "I sent you a picture of the letter. Read it yourself." Wang Shang read the contents of the letter. It turns out that the master is about to be promoted to the Jindan realm and needs to retreat for a period of time, so he went to Zhongnan Mountain. He also said that when he comes back, he will take them everywhere to show off. Wang Shang was speechless at the contents of the letter. "Master, you're really destined to end up alone. It's not the right time for you to raise your cultivation level. Thought of here." He sighed, talked about the general situation with senior sister, and then walked out of the room. Asked Mao Yu when she would set out. "My senior sister will also participate in this operation. Let's go back to Wudong Mountain to pick her up first." At the same time, Wang Shang was also thinking in his heart that if the master's wife and daughter were in a situation, naturally his elder sister would not stand by and do nothing. However, master wife actually took the initiative to contact us, so it seems to be a bit of a problem indeed. But even if it's a dragon's den, I'm going to get little junior sister back. Several people then prepared to go to Wudong Mountain to retrieve their senior sister, and Wang Shang also learned from Mao Yu. The security guard who assassinated Master Uncle Li's eldest brother before had his father and eldest brother die in a mining accident early in his life. That's because the mine was owned by the Li family, so he set his revenge target on Li Shirshan. At this point, Mao Yu suddenly received a message from a co-worker. Just now, the security guard died, and his death was extremely miserable. Wang Shang looks at the photo of the security guard's death, and the mark on his arm that looks like a Tai Chi diagram. Think the security guard died from the yin-yang bloodthirsty compulsion. This kind of goo worm has a yin and a yang that sense each other. According to the ancient books, they can enhance the spirit of the person who is under the parasites, and they can also kill the other person from 1,000 miles away. There's also this pattern that looks like Tai Chi, but in reality, it's most likely the pattern of the organization behind it. So he asked Mao Yu to start investigating that. Yin-yang compass Tai Chi patterns and the incense burner he destroyed earlier. These evidences are enough to prove that a certain evil cult organization has grown to a large scale. I'm afraid, they need to get in touch with the major sects as soon as possible. Mao Yu also realized the seriousness of the matter after listening to it. She quickly asked Wang Sheng to wait for a moment, and she would immediately notify her colleagues. Wang Sheng, on the other hand, is standing still with a grave expression on his face. After all, the secret of his past life was involved, and he was not in a position to say so explicitly. Let's just hope we can prevent it this time. After all, they're dealing with the Yin-Yang cult this time. In his previous life, the cult had almost turned the world upside down, and Wang Sheng had to be careful. The next day, Wang Sheng successfully received his senior sister and officially set off to rescue his little junior sister. In the car, Mao Yu looks at Mu Wanxian with glowing eyes. Buyu Fairy is really beautiful, good figure, white skin, really 360 degrees without dead angle. Mao Yu is a bit overzealous. Wang Sheng hurriedly explained. Senior sister, she's a subordinate of master's wife, she's not a bad person. Senior sister ate her food and let out a These words also hit Mao Yu a little bit. But on the road, Wang Sheng also finally learned the true identity of the special investigation team from Mao Yu. In the olden days, chivalry used martial arts to break bans, and immortality used law to turn the world upside down. Nowadays, the vitality of heaven and earth has been revived, and practitioners of all kinds are emerging one after another. The secular world naturally needs privileged organizations to maintain order in the world. The Special Investigations Unit, led by Shifu Maiden, is one of the privileged departments of the Great China State for the monastic world. A department responsible for monitoring and mediating between cultivating immortalities and ordinary people. But because this time, it involves their captain's own daughter, so they can't say much about it, so I hope Wang Sheng doesn't mind. Wang Sheng smiled and said, It's okay, this matter is also personal to us. After all, that's not just your captain's daughter, she's also our little junior sister. At those words, both Mao Yu and Daniel froze for a moment. After reacting, they guessed the relationship between their captain and Taoist Qing Yanzi. Mao Yu is excited. Didn't expect there to be such breaking news. Soon after, they finally arrived at the location of this mission, which is also the university where the little junior sister is studying. The rest of the mission is in the hands of Wang Sheng and his senior sister. They entered the campus disguised as a couple of exchange student lovers. Find out the details of the other party and rescue the little junior sister. Shortly after checking in, senior sister sent a message. She found yuan power residue in the little junior sister's room, which should be caused by the talisman. Ask Wang Sheng what to do next. Wang Sheng told his senior sister not to alert the snakes for the time being. If you can, create an opportunity to get to know your little junior sister first. Senior sister quickly sent over an emoticon as if she was disguised as a secret agent. It seemed like she had taken on the role and was having a great time. And Wang Sheng is looking at a picture of his little junior sister. Her name is Chi Wen. She's a sophomore majoring in business. According to the information provided by Mao Yu, an evil cultivator has sneaked into the university campus to conduct teachings, and the little junior sister was also one of the deceived ones. Because of this, she had a conflict with Master's wife and lost contact with her. Perhaps because of this, the Master's wife had to contact the Master, hoping that he could help rescue the little junior sister. Wang Sheng and sister then went to the student cafeteria. He originally planned to ask senior sister to go up and strike up a conversation as planned. But this is difficult for the senior sister who is not good at words. Wang Sheng advised his senior sister not to feel pressured. That's Master's daughter. Don't treat her like an outsider. Suddenly Wang Sheng noticed that the true qi had appeared on the little junior sister's body. This kind of true qi is very similar to the true qi he cultivated in his previous life by relying on miscellaneous gong methods. It seems that things are far from as simple as they imagined. So he told his senior sister that plan had changed, and he would try to get in test with her first. At those words the senior sister breathed a sigh of relief. Wang Sheng turned his head towards his little senior sister and slowly approached her, just about to open his mouth to talk to her. Suddenly he hears someone behind him calling out his name. He was so scared that he dropped his cell phone on the floor. Wang Sheng turned his head and looked. It turned out to be his former classmate Shen Qianlin, and he couldn't help but be stunned for a moment. Unexpectedly, the next second, the schoolmate directly jumped into his arms, full of excitement. It's really you, why are you here? Seeing this scene, senior sister's face instantly darkened. At the same time the surrounding boys were shocked and looked at Wang Sheng. Then it turned to anger. Who is this person? Senior sister Shen actually has time to develop a little lover? By the way, I just saw that guy seems to have a girlfriend. I can't bear it, I'll kill him. Seeing that the boys around him were about to rush up and beat Wang Sheng up, girl explained, "Don't be ridiculous. This is my high school classmate. He saved my life before." It turns out that in her previous life, she was disabled in a car accident. After Wang Sheng was reborn, he appeared on the scene in advance and helped her through the crisis. Although she took a small risk, looking at her healthy appearance now, Wang Sheng thinks it was worth it. At that moment, Wang Sheng suddenly put his hand on his female classmate's shoulder, said hello with a smile, and the senior sister blushed slightly. Wang Sheng wasn't trying to eat her tofu, but was feeling the spirit chi in his schoolmate's body. It was only after found out that she didn't have a spirit chi that was sure she wasn't involved in what happened to little junior sister. At this time, someone on the side suddenly asked, "Classmate, you dropped your cell phone." Wang Sheng turned his head to look. It was the little junior sister who picked up the mobile phone he just dropped and handed it back to him. He took the phone and said thank you, and enthusiastically expressed, "Is it convenient for this classmate to add WeChat? As a thank you, I'll treat you to dinner later." But he was politely rejected by his junior sister. Seeing this, the senior sister couldn't help but cover her mouth and chuckle. "What? You didn't throw your cell phone behind her on purpose, did you?" Wang Sheng smiled awkwardly. Hastily changing the topic, he introduced his girlfriend to his schoolmate, so that the two could get to know each other. However, the senior sister was looking at him with a gloomy face, as if to say, "Didn't you go to find out about your little junior sister? Who is this woman? And the little senior sister is already gone. What are you guys up to?" Wang Sheng was in a cold sweat and advised his senior sister to calm down a bit. Wang Sheng then led his senior sister to the grove and told female classmate the general situation. Said that he was here to track down a few unstable elements hiding in the school, and hoped that senior sister would be able to provide some clues. Senior sister heard about the unstable elements and thought that there shouldn't be any such people in the school. So Wang Sheng asked again, "Has anyone invited you to join any strange societies lately? Propaganda and learning, e.g., martial arts, magic, longevity, or even immortality related?" When asked about this, the senior sister student suddenly thought of a poster had seen before. Seems to be related to what Wang Sheng said, so she sent it to Wang Sheng immediately. "This is a recruitment poster for a societies called Paranormal Inspiration." Wang Sheng looks at the banner above and thinks this should be what they're looking for. Instantly, he got up from the ground. "Tell her there's something wrong with this societies. I'll have someone protect you. From now on, just pretend that you have never seen me and my senior sister." The girl nodded, watching Wang Sheng and senior sister leave, but her back was surprisingly forlorn, thinking, "Is that the senior sister he keeps mentioning in his text messages? No wonder he stayed on the mountain for several years. If I hadn't met your senior sister today, I would have thought you were going to become a Taoist priest." In the grove outside the school that night, a dozen students formed a circle, surrounding a man with yellow hair in the middle. Yellow hair is currently brainwashing them. "Don't give up because the membership fee is too expensive. Everything requires investment. Now you are investing in yourself. Only in this way can you truly reach the top and start cultivation." And at that moment, Wang Sheng and his senior sister were standing on a tree not too far away. Because of their cultivation, they could hear the conversation clearly. Wang Sheng couldn't help but complain, "Are they preaching or a pyramid scheme? The person in the lead does have cultivation in his body. But if it's just cultivation, these people aren't breaking any rules." After thinking about it, Wang Sheng decided to send the pictures to Mao Yu first, so they could investigate. At this moment, senior sister suddenly reminded Wang Sheng to look over there. Wang Sheng looks up and asks, "Is there a situation?" Senior sister shook her head. Wang Sheng looked doubtfully in the direction pointed by the senior sister, only to see that yellow hair just now, at this moment, is talking to a girl with a bad smile on his face. Wang Sheng listened to what he said and was speechless. Now even monasticism can play subterfuge? He then asked his senior sister to continue to keep an eye on the place, and he followed him up to take a look. Soon yellow hair brought girl to a deserted alley, stretched out his salty hand at her and said, "If you obey me, not to mention being able to fly, I can even get you extra kung fu and elixirs." The girl was full of shyness and a bit hesitant. At this moment, an angry voice suddenly came from the front, "Shut up, you are ruining the style of the family in disgrace." An old man came out of the alley with an angry face. Yellow hair sees this and rushes to explain, "Uncle. No, Elder Gu, this is my new girlfriend. Didn't I want to bring her over to meet you? However, before he could finish his sentence, there was another voice from above. Didn't expect that the Oversoul Societies even has hidden rules. Wang Sheng arrives with a sword and falls from the sky. In an instant, several sword sheaths struck the old man unconscious. Huang Mao saw that even the second uncle of Jushan realm was subdued by one move. Run away decisively. At this time, a cold light flashed. Wang Sheng's long sword was placed on Yellow Hair's neck, making Yellow Hair talk properly about where their lair was. The next morning, Wang Sheng came to the door of a small courtyard carrying the Yellow Hair that had been beaten violently. In the courtyard, there are 4 old men and women making tea and chatting. But just then Wang Sheng walks in and says hello. Good morning, all you immortal cultivation elders. Identity revealed by Wang Sheng's words. The old men looked at each other. They immediately worked together to throw the table where the tea was brewing towards Wang Sheng. Wang Sheng didn't panic at all and slashed the stone table with his sword. Then he swung several swords and knocked down the 3 old men instantly. At that moment, the old woman hiding behind suddenly threw out a flaming talisman and attacked Wang Sheng. But unfortunately, it only hit Wang Sheng's shadow. In the next second, Wang Sheng appears behind him and knocks him out with a hand slash. After taking care of the 4 so-called super spirit elders, Wang Sheng then handed the scene over to Mao Yu. Just returned to school. Mao Yu called again and said that those casual cultivators had confessed. The founder of the Supernatural Society calls himself the Sacred Firebearer. They hired more than a dozen casual cultivators to serve as guardian elders of the sect. Now he has made a name for himself in society. And the little junior sister, because of her wealthy family, is a small mascot-like leader in there. Wang Sheng asked Mao Yu to send him a copy of their information, and he would pay attention to their movements. At the same time, he's a little confused. Organizations such as the Sacred Firebearer and Super Soul Society are actually criminal gangs with monastic backgrounds. What are their goals? Is it simply to amass wealth? But no matter what, we still have to pull little junior sister out of this quagmire quickly, otherwise we may be in constant trouble. Just as Wang Sheng was thinking, a finger suddenly poked him in the face. Wang Sheng turned his head and saw his senior sister looking at him with a muttered mouth. As if to say, elder brother is a bad guy and won't take me to fight. Wang Sheng smiled, picked up a piece of potato chips and put it into the senior sister's mouth. Senior sister, let's go look for little junior sister. In the evening the two of them asked the little junior sister out and explained to her the general situation and their identities. But the junior sister didn't believe it at all, saying that her father had been dead for 20 years, so how could he have an apprentice? Wang Sheng didn't explain much, he just handed her the photo that master had kept close to him. The photo was of her and her mother. Then Wang Sheng played a video call with his master's wife to the junior sister. The junior sister who learned the truth found it hard to accept it for a moment. She actually covered face and cried bitterly. The senior sister next to me immediately panicked when she saw this. She didn't know how to comfort people. At this moment, in the bushes not far away, a crossbow was aiming at them. With a swish sound, the arrow shot over. Luckily, senior sister reacted in time and easily stopped it with a wave of her hand. And when the man saw that the assassination failed, he ran away decisively. Wang Sheng asked the senior sister to protect the little junior sister while he went to chase the murderer. And at the same time, he thought to himself, this rabble finally took action. While chasing, Wang Sheng also notified Mao Yu's side. Mao Yu receives the message and immediately orders all groups to prepare for battle. Block all exits on the campus and make sure not to let the other party escape. Soon after, Wang Sheng knocked masked person to the ground with a sword chi, but he didn't expect that as soon as the other party got up, she several poisonous needles at him. Wang Sheng waved his hand to block them easily, but a cloud of poisonous smoke rose from his hand. This silver needle is actually poisonous. Immediately afterward, the other party was seen trembling as he took out an elixir and consumed it. Seeing that the other party took out pills one after another to restore his body, as well as poisonous needles that made his cultivation incapacitated, Wang Sheng knew that this woman's origin was not small, and decided that he must take her down and dig out the information. Then he came behind the woman in an instant. A chokehold on her neck, lifted her straight up, nullified her entire body's meridians and cultivation. Then he threw the woman to the ground. I'll leave the rest to master's wife. But at that moment, he suddenly sensed a fury chi that clashes with the Taoist techniques. Wang Sheng turned his head and saw 2 masked men, one tall and one short. It's coming towards him slowly. This little brother, this woman stole something that should be ours, can you hand her over to us? We will definitely not treat you badly. Wang Shang looked at the tattoos on their necks. Immediately realized they were from the yin-yang cult. He decisively stopped in front of the woman and replied, "No." At that, the shorter of the two scratches his head hard. "Do you know that you have offended the person you least deserve to offend today?" After saying that, the fury chi on both of them began to condense and materialize. They lunged towards Wang Shang. Wang Shang is not to be outdone, and coalesces a sword chi to break it apart. Said coldly again, "I said no, it just can't be done." As he spoke, Wang Shang's sword chi crisscrossed his body, instantly dispelling the surrounding evil spirit. This also aroused the interest of the tall man. He thrust his sword into the ground and rushed forward. He swung his elbow and hit Wang Shang's afterimage. Failing to land a blow, the tall man immediately reversed his direction and chopped at Wang Shang's real body again. Wang Shang didn't expect his opponent to be able to keep up with his 7-star pace. It looks like he's not just a big talker, he's got some real skills. Then he condensed the sword fingers in his hand, throwing out a number of sword chi retaliation. After a few moves, Wang Shang also realizes that if his opponent wasn't dealing with him empty-handed, he's now afraid that he'll really be hard to resist. However, just as the two of them were entangled in a fight, out of the corner of his eye, Wang Shang suddenly caught a glimpse of the other short man was about to take the woman away. Wang Shang secretly said, "Not good," immediately launched a fierce attack on the tall man. It's as if he's ready to decide the outcome with one move. As expected, the tall man fell for the trick and started charging up his ultimate move. Wang Shang took the opportunity to turn around and rush towards the short man. The short man didn't dare to carry it, so he quickly turned around to resist. He was knocked back a few meters. Wang Shang picks the woman up off the ground. Looking at the two masked men in front of him, he sighed in his heart. An expert who can possess the Jietai realm in the hibernation stage, the yin-yang cult is really something. But this woman is an important clue to the Super Soul Societies. I can't let her die here. At this time, the tall man suddenly said, "Enough playing. Then gather the strength." The sword that was just on the ground is automatically sheathed. It came into his hand, only to see him cross his sword in front of him and coldly say, "Let's get this over with." With that, he leapt up in the air and swung his sword. Fury Chi turned into 3 giant snakes and attacked Wang Shang. Wang Shang picks up the woman and dodges. At the same time, it could also be seen that the blade complemented the fury and could not take his moves hard. But it's easy to hide from open guns, but hard to guard against hidden arrows. Just when Wang Shang was avoiding the tall man's attack, he was suddenly attacked again. It turned out that it was the short man who attacked him secretly. Wang Shang couldn't dodge, so he had to take it. Just saw him being blasted away directly. At that moment, the tall man suddenly appeared in front of him and slashed straight down towards his face. Just in the nick of time, a branch wrapped in true chi suddenly flew over. It hit the tall man's hand that was about to swing the sword. Then a pair of white jade-like palms appeared on the tall man's chest. A palm blast directly sent the tall man flying out of the room. Wang Shang was relieved that it was his senior sister. Taking the branch handed to him by his senior sister, he stated that they were bad guys. Upon hearing this, the elder sister's eyes suddenly became stern. "Charge up and start the fight." A taiji pattern appears in his right hand, blocked the short man's fury chi attack. At this time, the tall man behind him actually wanted to sneak attack. Wang Shang rushed forward with a branch in his hand. The tall man hurriedly turned around and swung his sword, striking Wang Shang's residual image. Then the two of them got into a fight. With no worries left, senior sister started to fight with all her might. The true chi turned into palms and hit the short man one by one, beat him so hard that he vomited blood and flew backwards. But at that moment, the shorter man set his sights on the little junior sister. Gathering the fury chi into a pair of big hands, he grabbed towards the little junior sister. The little junior sister screams in terror. Luckily, at the critical moment, senior sister started the yin-yang, hao-chi formation in time. Isolate this fury chi outside. Seeing that he couldn't beat him, the short man asked the tall man to leave quickly. If them doesn't leave, they are going to die here today. The taller man heard this and slashed his sword. Forces Wang Shang back. He then leaps up in the air, not forgetting to let out a harsh word before leaving. "Junior, your swordplay is good. I'll fight you again for 300 rounds someday." When the senior sister heard this, she couldn't bear it anymore. She rushed up and was ready to give them 2 more slaps. But she was stopped by Wang Shang. Senior sister, our first priority is to protect our little junior sister. Mao Yu has received the intelligence. And next is their task. But when Wang Sheng turns his head, senior sister is in tears. As if to say, it's senior sister who is useless. Obviously I can help you to take revenge. The master will definitely scold me. Wang Shang touched his senior sister's head and comforted her. Senior sister, you not only defeated the enemy, but also protected junior sister. That's so awesome. After comforting senior sister, Wang Shang looks at the branch in his hand and thinks, I hope that after this fierce battle, junior sister, she can understand the dangers of society, right? Later, because of the haunting of the Li family, the special investigation team began to respond to the Yin Yang cult. But even so, they still didn't succeed in catching those two evil cultivators. Only one of them was killed. The female cultivator captured by Wang Shang was named Yu Qiyu, originally an outer disciple of the Pill God Valley. Half a year ago, he was bribed by the Yin Yang cult to steal the secret manuals of his own sect, and was hunted down and silenced after the incident was exposed. When she was about to be arrested, she was rescued by the sacred firebearer, and joined the Super Soul Society. The two sides formed a grudge like this, and the scene last night also came from this. But for Wang Shang and the others, this is where the trouble begins. And after finding out what happened, the master's wife directly slapped her little junior sister in the face, hating her. Why did I give birth to such an idiot like you? Are you really stupid, or are you doing this on purpose to make me angry? Did you read so many books in vain? If it weren't for the two of them, you would be dead now, you know? The corners of her eyes couldn't help but tear up, and she raised her hand, ready to strike again. But this time it was stopped by Wang Shang. Master's wife, please calm down. She was compelled by someone too. Master's wife gritted her teeth. Breaking away from Wang Shang's hand, she turned around to leave and ordered the team members guarding the door. Give her the results of junior sister interrogation within 2 hours. In response, Wang Shang could only sigh helplessly. As the saying goes, parents are responsible for their children's offenses, and master's wife are not entirely blameless in this matter either. Then he smiled and squatted in front of the little junior sister to comfort. Junior sister, when you explain everything clearly, come back to the mountain gate with us, experience real cultivation, and meet your biological father by the way. Upon hearing this, the little junior sister stopped crying. Perhaps the master's wife also wanted to keep the junior sister away from this matter, so she readily agreed to Wang Shang's proposal. The clarity of Wudong Mountain's aura, coupled with the hospitality of fellow disciples, junior sister's mood has gradually brightened up. But at night, she couldn't help but ask Wang Shang, Senior brother, when will my dad come back? Wang Shang thought for a moment. It's hard to say. Master's breakthrough into the Jindan realm is a very difficult one to achieve. What's wrong? If you have something to say to me and my senior sister, you can. Junior sister lowered her head and whispered, Now I am atone for one's crimes by doing good deeds and don't want to embarrass my mother too much, nor do I want to affect her work. If I can, I'd like to learn something as soon as possible and work in that special investigation unit. Wang Shang, once he heard that the little junior sister has this kind of heart, it's not a waste for them to sacrifice their lives to save her. Then he said, Cultivation of the way is about cultivating virtue before cultivating the heart and then the way and the Dharma. Your father taught me that cultivating Taoism is the pursuit of the realm of Taoism, not a powerful magic spell. Cultivating one's own Tao is fundamental. Don't put the cart before the horse and confuse the point. After saying that, Wang Shang turned around and carried the dishes ready to leave, while also thinking in his heart, although she has already withdrawn from the trouble, the junior sister still has a knot in her heart that she hasn't solved yet. Hopefully, Master will return as soon as possible and warm up junior sister with a steady, skinny loving kindness. I also wonder how the progress is going at the special investigation team. At the same time, a university dormitory. A guy with glasses is surfing the web, ready to find a fun game. Suddenly he saw a game called Sacred Firebearer, prompting him to click to enter. Having finished with the outside world for the time being, Wang Sheng doesn't have much to worry about. The next day, he continued his training to impact the Jietai realm. The Jushin realm is the first step in the process of feeling heaven and earth through spiritual thoughts. The Jietai realm is the ability to independently control the connection between heaven and earth, drawing energy from heaven and earth. When the inner and outer circumference are connected, the Jietai realm is complete. How to complete the inner energy without any leakage is what Wang Sheng is trying to do now. However, at that moment, he suddenly heard Zhou Senior Brother's voice. When he opened the door, it was really Zhou Senior Brother. Along with him is Master Gao Shishing. Wang Shang rushed to bow to Master Uncle Gao. Master Uncle Gao has heard that Wang Shang is a swordsman, and is ready to give him some guidance. This also made Wang Shang sigh. When I came to outside world, I wanted to be Master Uncle Gao's teacher. I didn't expect to meet Master and Senior Sister instead. That's how life is, between the gains and the losses, it's a wonderful thing. After watching Wang Shang's demonstration of the 7-star sword formation, Master Uncle Gao walks up and starts commenting. Your sword realm is very deep and not in the same lineage as mine, I can't point it out well. But Wudong has passed down the 7-star sword technique since its founding. There are many differences from your 7-star sword formation. Watch this. With that, Master Uncle Gao began to demonstrate the 7-star sword technique. Wang Shang is shocked. This is not the same sword technique as the 7-star sword formation, even though they have something in common. Star Kuei guards the center gate, Star Su sweeps the 8 directions. Master Uncle Gao is truly a master who has been practice austerities of sword technique for 20 to 30 years. Compared to him, my knowledge is too shallow. I learn from Master's studies are too diverse and I doesn't specialize in one lineage. Master Uncle is a pure swordsman. With his guidance, I'm sure I'll be able to go further. So, after Master Uncle Gao finished his demonstration, Wang Shang immediately went up to ask for advice, hoping that Master Uncle would guide him in his practice. However, Master Uncle Gao said modestly, let us learn from each other. You may not be as good as me at this point in time, so let's try a few moves. See this. Little junior sister in the room asked with her eyes wide open in excitement and disbelief. Senior brother, is he that good? Senior sister smiled and nodded. And ever since that day, Master Uncle Gao would come here every few days to spar with Wang Shang to perfect their respective kendo moves. Wang Shang had benefited greatly from these days. Until this day, when the two were halfway through their sparring session. A bright laugh suddenly came from the doorway. There's nothing wrong with you two sparring, but don't hurt anyone in this fight. Wang Shang and Master Uncle Gao turned to look at each other. Master Uncle Gao is surprised. Master, why are you here? Then, I only heard the man laugh as he stroked his beard. Master Uncle, the elders said that Qing Yanzi was lucky to have found a great sword. I've been practicing swords all my life, so naturally I'm here to see it. Wang Shang hurriedly bowed. Greetings, Master Grandpa. But in his heart, he was in a state of panic. Master Uncle's master. Isn't that the one with the highest seniority in the mountain, former chief? Master Grandpa smiled and told Wang Shang not to be polite. Then he sat down on a stone chair and began to instruct Wang Shang and the others. You two are too obsessed with the form of the sword, don't lose sight of the balance of yin-yang. Don't hurt each other in your sparring. Hard contact may shatter, but softness can't be broken. If you're not careful, you'll hurt yourself. Alright, here we go. With that, Wang Shang and Master Uncle Gao continued to spar. At the same time, he also thought in his heart that the heavenly list in his last life claimed to have recorded the high achievers of the entire cultivation world. But old-timers like Master Grandpa rarely showed up, so naturally they didn't make the list. It's a great chance for a junior like me to have his guidance. At this point, Master Grandpa started to give Wang Shang some pointers. There is no self in heaven and earth, but a place to live in. Heaven and earth should have me, and we should be able to integrate our hearts, souls, chi, and spirit into this life. With Master Grandpa's guidance. At this moment, Wang Shang seems to have come to his senses. In an instant, the surrounding Tuer Chi converged towards him. He just took a deep breath. The Tuer Chi then drilled into his body through his 7 orifices. Eventually it reaches an apex. With a shout, Wang Shang make a breakthrough. He reached the Jietai realm. After the breakthrough, Wang Shang could feel that his spiritual thoughts were growing. The true essence has become more pure. This must be the Jietai realm. But the most important thing is to consolidate the realm and prepare for the Jindan realm. At this moment, Master Grandpa looked at Wang Shang, who was sitting on his knees and consolidating his realm. In his hand, a stream of true essence was formed. Directly pressed down towards the top of Wang Shang's head. Seeing this, Master Uncle Gao immediately understood that the master was intending to stay behind to instruct his juniors. So he took the initiative to leave. Master Grandpa then spoke again. Gathering your spiritual thoughts, you calmed your mind and concentrated on your enlightenment. I've been using swords for many years, so I'm going to give you the 6 realms of the way of the sword today, and I hope you'll understand them well. The first three of the 6 realms of the Way of the Sword are sword form, sword intent, and sword momentum, which are the foundation of the Way of the Sword. Most successful sword cultivators first realize these 3 steps, and then advance one by one. In the 4th realm, the sword needs to choose a sword embryo and nourish it day and night with their own spiritual thoughts to achieve the art of flying swords. The 5th realm, Heart Sword, abandons the sword before the sword, transforms the tangible into the intangible, and the sword's intent can be endless, or incomparably sharp. As for the 6th realm, Casting the Sword, it is to use the Heart Sword as the soul of the sword, and the body of the Tao as the skeleton of the sword. Once out of the sheath, you can conquer the world. Soon after, Wang Sheng opened his eyes again, comprehending the 6 realms of the Way of the Sword that Master Grandpa had just taught him. Maybe it wasn't the end of Sword Way, but it showed him a long way to go. We'll see how it goes. At that moment, Master Grandpa's voice sounded in his head again. I will give you another set of sword intentions, remember to comprehend them well. This is actually Master Grandpa's Tao inheritance. Wang Sheng couldn't hide his excitement, his eyes widened. But then he fainted, but his senior sister appeared in time to hold him. Senior sister signaled little junior sister to keep quiet. She carries Wang Sheng and heads for the house. And little junior sister looks like her father. Excitedly grabbing her cell phone, she recorded the precious image of senior sister princess hugging second senior brother. After Wang Sheng entered the Jietai realm, he slept for a whole day before finally waking up. But what he didn't expect was that the sword intent that Master Grandpa casually said he would give away was actually a 2E sword intent. Rigidity and flexibility, yin and yang, and the constant change of spring and autumn could all be called 2E. Master Grandpa only passes on sword intent because Wang Sheng has already entered the realm of sword momentum. For nothing, he has gained the subtle and mysterious 2I sword technique, and has realized the future path of the sword. In just 20 days after returning to the mountain, Wang Sheng has already made a big step forward in the path of swordsmanship. From now on, the sword will be his magic weapon, and also his protection method. Even its away count on the world. However, such peaceful days did not last long. Mao, you called again. Something's wrong with you. A few hours ago, Sacred Firebearer alerted the nation via the Deep Encryption Network. They're auctioning off the upper and middle scrolls of Lungfu Mountain's Tianchi talisman. Wang Sheng's eyes widened in surprise when he heard. Subconsciously, he asked, "Where is Tianchi talisman? How much does it cost? Are there only 2 volumes?" But as soon as the words were out of his mouth, he realized that he had lost his temper a bit. It's not like the bad old days. Why sell the Tianchi talisman? And so, with a quick cough to ease the awkwardness, he asked, "What's the reaction from Lungfu Mountain? You've already made contact, right?" Mao Yu replied back while rummaging through the information. "Yes, and we've identified Sacred Firebearer. He's an outcast from Longhu Mountain. His name is Qian Xing, and he used to study under Tian Zhang, the master of Longhu Mountain. Caught stealing the last scrolls of Tianchi talisman a year ago, he injured one of his disciples and fled. Now Master Tian Zhang has brought his men to join us, but I'm afraid the other sects will be sending their men as well." When Wang Sheng heard this, he thought of Outcast's title, Chen Xing. He also studied under Tian Zhang. Is he sure Chen Zhang's senior brother? As for people from other sects sending people over, it's not surprising. After all, the Tianchi talisman is the foundation of Longfu Mountain, and there must be a lot of sects secretly coveting it. And that's exactly what Mao Yu and the others are worried about. If this goes out of control, I'm afraid the whole monastic world will be in trouble. As a precaution, they can only come to Wang Sheng for help in stabilizing the situation. But this is too big of a deal, and Wang Sheng can only say that he'll think of something on his own. If the other sect masters step in, he's not senior enough to talk to senior sister. If that's the case, then we'll have to ask the master to step in. And so Wang Sheng came to Zhongnan Mountain a short time later. He didn't expect to meet an old Taoist priest right at the foot of the mountain. He asked him if he was a disciple of Qin Yanzi. Wang Sheng respectfully replied, "Exactly. May I ask if senior has ever met my master, Qin Yanzi?" Upon hearing this, the old Taoist priest picked up his cell phone and tapped it a few times. And then sent a voice towards the chat group. "Fellow Taoists, have you seen fellow Taoist Qin Yanzi? His disciple is here to see him." Soon someone in the group replied, "Qin Yanzi at Jingyun's place." And Taoist Jingyun was quick to respond, "He's here with me. What's going on? Where is Fei Yu now?" Wang Sheng heard a female voice and immediately realized that this Jingyun was a Kuan Dao. Koan Dao is a term of honor for female cultivators. Thinking of this, his mind couldn't help but conjure up this image. I'm getting a little bit of a prairie vibe from senior sister. Wang Sheng has arrived at Jingyun's place under the guidance of the old Taoist priest. But what puzzled him was, I've heard that Taoist Jingyun's cultivation and qualifications are extraordinary, but why is he no on the heavenly ranking in his previous life? But since Master chose this place, then Taoist Jingyun must be a Taoist friend who is deeply trusted by him. At that moment, a voice suddenly came from the courtyard through the air. Is that Fei Yu coming? Take the path west of the courtyard and you'll reach me. Wang Sheng followed the voice to the west side of the courtyard. I think this is where Taoist Jingyun practiced. Suddenly, he found a hole with Master's scent in it, and it seems that Master is retreating in it. Wang Sheng was ready to walk in and check it out. At that moment, a voice came from behind him. Fei Yu, wait. Your master is about to break through into the Jindan realm. You must not disturb him now. What did you come to see him about this time? So it was Jingyun who came out of the courtyard, and she's reached the Sudan realm. Wang Sheng told Jingyun about the situation. Learning what happened, Jingyun was also in a bit of a bind. In this situation, it is difficult for you two juniors to appease the elders of the sect. But when Qi Ling's sister-in-law left, senior brother was depressed for her and her baby for many years. And now she wants senior brother to go to bat for her. What kind of reasoning is that? Wang Sheng froze straight away when he heard this. Looking at Jingyun's appearance, could it be that she is also interested in Master? At that moment, there was a sudden rumble from the front. Only a large thundercloud converged above Qin Yanzi's side. Wang Sheng is excited. This is a heavenly tribulation. That means his master has broken through the Jindan realm. Master Uncle Jingyan puts her hand on his shoulder, telling him not to panic. Senior brother's Jindan is now in the process of having a post-breakthrough epiphany, and should not be disturbed. I can only take him on a trip to meet Qi Ling's sister-in-law. Ask her why she walked away. She left senior brother and his daughter for 20 years. Wang Sheng couldn't help but twitch at the corners of his mouth after hearing this. I'm afraid this trip won't be a peaceful one. Wang Sheng then set off with Master Uncle, Jingyun. In the car, Wang Sheng asked Mao Yu to explain the situation. Mao Yu said, the last few core members of the Oversoul Society are still missing. But according to the information, there is evil cultivators organization operating behind sacred firebearers back, such as the cult of heavenly fire and the five gods. Wang Sheng thought about it, but of these organizations, only the five gods are a bit bigger. The five gods were a typical organization with crooked ways in his previous life. He didn't expect to run into them this time, but he was more concerned about the news of the Yin Yang sect. Mao Yu, however, says, the Yin Yang cult didn't make any moves, but the five gods cult had a large number of masters mixing into the city. They're even saying they're going after the Tianshi talisman. Wang Sheng couldn't help but feel a sense of disgust in his heart. This five gods cult is actually helping the Yin Yang cult to attract firepower. Should I praise them for warm-hearted person? Master Uncle Jingyun, on the other hand, looks out the window and says cynically, it's not big, but it's still evil cultivators after all. Fei Yu, we'll take a walk down the street later. If we encounter evil cultivators, we need to take care of them. Wang Sheng has no choice but to do something about it. He didn't realize that Master Uncle is the kind of character who is cold on the outside but hot on the inside, with a heart of chivalry. So he had to smile and say, I have a friend, she's been keeping an eye on the surrounding area for a while now. Why don't we go find her first? And the friend Wang Sheng is talking about is senior sister Shin. The three of them meet at a restaurant to eat and talk. Wang Sheng asks senior sister if there is anything unusual in school now. Senior sister is a little unsure and takes out her cell phone to indicate. I don't know if this counts. Check it out first. Wang Sheng took the phone and looked at it. Then he saw a couple of comments on the campus forum. Why should only Taoist priests be able to practice? Why can we just be ordinary people? These are probably the conspiracy of various celebrity sects. Even if you don't have the talent to cultivate immortality, can't you prolong your life without illness or pain? Everyone is qualified to cultivate. Why should gongfu and resources be hijacked by cultivators? Wang Sheng looked at the comments and replies and knew that this was obviously someone fanning the flames. And most likely sacred firebearer. Now Ultra Spirit Society auctioned the talisman. Now they are inciting ignorant people and students. What do they want? However, just as Wang Sheng was thinking about it, Jingyun has indeed found out what's going on. Wang Sheng and Mao Yu turned their heads to look at it. An evil cultivator is seen putting his hand on the girl's shoulder and walking out. The girl was then taken to the hotel. The girl was handed over to a creepy old man. The old man is trying to absorb the girl. At this point, Wang Shang and Jing Yun, who were hiding outside the door, decided to break in. Jing Yun swished behind the old man. She uses both hands to launch an attack and reminds Wang Shang not to let anyone go. Wang Shang follows suit and swings several sword energy. The evil cultivators were killed. We're done here. Wang Shang is going to help Master Uncle deal with the old man. Though Master Uncle is now holding the old man down. But Wang Shang knows that Master Uncle only practices in the mountains and doesn't have much combat experience. Now it's just suppressed by virtue of his cultivation. I'm afraid it's going to be a problem after a long time. So I immediately reminded Master Uncle. Use your strength to defeat the enemy, no need to show mercy. Upon hearing this, Master Uncle decisively gathered his true essence and struck the old man's chest with a palm. The old man was blown away, shattering the glass of the room. But unexpectedly, at that moment, the old man suddenly unleashed a spiritual thought attack and roared. You ruin my good deeds, I will destroy your sect and kill your whole family. I'm going to kill all the women who are related to you. These words instantly touched Wang Shang's scales. He jumped down from a 100-meter-high building with his sword in hand. He practiced sword training to protect his family. If he can't even do that, what's the point of being born again, even if you've already been born again? Seeing Wang Shang stabbing at himself with his sword in a desperate manner, the old man also panicked a bit. He also did not expect Wang Shang's small age, although just entered the Jietai realm, but he not be afraid of his spirit attack. He's even tougher than that Sudan realm. He immediately gathered his entire body and turned into countless ghostly hands and grabbed at Wang Shang. Wang Shang decisively used his strongest strike to break through the many ghost hands, stabbed the old man through him. And then there was a bang. The two landed together, and immediately rubble flew and smoke covered the entire area. When the smoke cleared, the old man was completely out of breath. And Wang Shang is on the ground, looks at the broken sword in his hand and says, "Sorry." Then his eyes went black and he fainted. Inside the hospital, Mao Yu is reporting the identity of the evil cultivator to the team leader. It turns out that the evil cultivator was once a wanted criminal with more than a dozen murders on his back. After the revival of heaven and earth's vital energy, he became a master by relying on the evil method of extracting yin and replenishing yang. Not long ago, he became an elder of the Five Gods sect, with the Taoist name, Wedding God and Taoist Manhwa. Hearing this, senior sister breathed a long sigh of relief. Turning her head to Wang Shang, she said, "Now that we've found the trail of the evil cultivators, there are hundreds of ways to deal with him. What's wrong with your strong social responsibility? You jumped off the 18th floor and gave that guy an attack." Wang Shang scratched his head in embarrassment. "I didn't really think about it that much at the time." At that moment, Master Uncle Jingyan came over. He gave a cold grunt. "Fei Yu, if you hadn't gone down to live, how would you have gotten hurt?" Seeing Master Uncle and Senior Sister look like they're about to fight, Wang Shang hurriedly coaxed them in the central. The two women then grunted at each other and turned their heads away. Wang Shang breathed a sigh of relief at the sight. It's a good thing they didn't get into a fight. But the Senior Sister reminds Wang Shang, "Don't worry about the others. Since you've already collected such a serious wound, you should get some rest. I'm going back to school. I'll bring you a pot of bone broth tomorrow." Wang Shang nodded. "Thank you, Senior Sister." Then she came out of the hospital. A car was waiting on the highway. There are two bodyguards in front of the car. The windows are slowly opening. An old voice came out of the car. "We've searched high and low for you, young master. I apologize for not being able to get out of the car and salute you." When she saw the old woman in the car, she was a little surprised too. "What brings you here, third grandma?" But third grandma said, "We were very worried about you, so we came here to protect you." "I'm afraid it's not going to be a peaceful night, young master." Meanwhile, in front of the hospital, all the Special Investigations Unit personnel are ready to go. Based on information from the investigation, the auction is tonight at midnight. Cash transactions are available. You can also trade with skills. The Tianchi talisman is one of the top techniques of Buddhism. Naturally, it attracts many practitioners. And in order to get the technique, they are more likely to do things that have no bottom line, even while injuring countless ordinary people. Wang Shang was unable to go because he was injured. But it's a good thing Master Uncle Jingyan was there. helping senior sister stabilize the situation. With her present, the cooperation between the Special Investigation Team and Longfu Mountain can also go smoothly. Now they've laid a dragnet. They're just waiting for Sacred Firebearer to show up and catch him in the act. But then Wang Sheng in the hospital room suddenly asked Mao Yu, "What day of the month is it?" Mao Yu subconsciously went back to October 18th. What's going on? Hearing this answer, Wang Sheng couldn't help but think. Thinking back to what I was doing at this point in time in my previous life, always felt that this event. What's the connection to my previous life? Suddenly Wang Sheng was reminded the Sacred Firebearer. Sacred fire could it be? The door to the hospital room opens with a pop, interrupting Wang Sheng's thoughts. Immediately afterward, Shi Qianzhang was seen hugging Wang Sheng's thighs and crying, "Sheng, I missed you so much." Wang Sheng is a little surprised at the sudden appearance of Shi Qianzhang, but waved Mao Yu Xian out. After Mao Yu closes the door and goes out, Wang Sheng turned to Shi Qianzhang and told him to speak up. "Why are you crying? You're a disciple of the Longhu Mountain. Don't make a fool of yourself." Shi Qianzhang wipes his tears as he says, "Sheng, don't lecture me." But the next second, Wang Sheng, however, asked directly, "You're here for Sacred Firebearer Guoqianqing, right?" Wang Sheng had already guessed their relationship. It's just that he didn't realize that Tianchi talisman was actually passed on to him by Shi Qianzhang. Shi Qianzhang, on the other hand, had his head down and clenched his fists. He gritted his teeth and said he was going to do something big. He told me not to try to track him down, but I really didn't know he would do such a thing. And I don't know how many people are going to die tonight. I have a way to find him, but I'm afraid to do it. He's my best buddy. Wang Sheng, you tell me what I should do. I'm so nervous. To which Wang Sheng said, on the one hand, you protect your master's inherited skills. On the other hand, you teach your senior brother to stop him from making mistakes. The auction is about to start. If you hesitate any longer, I'm afraid it's all going to be too late. So after much thought, Shi Qianzhang finally figured it out. Going to find Guoqianqing and stop him before he makes a big deal out of it. Wang Sheng also smiled with relief. But just then an attack suddenly struck. Wang Sheng pulled Shi Qianzhang away in time to avoid it. Then 3 people came in through the door. One of them was the tall man from before. Then the wretched young man laughed and said, "Master Shi, where are you going? Daoist Qianqing, his things will be done. You guys just don't bother him." Shi Qianzhang block in front of Wang Sheng. Ask them who you are. And Wang Sheng looks at them and gets worried. The young man's realm is unknown. But the 2 attendants are both Jietai realm. Looks like we're in trouble. The young man smiled again and said, "Since Taoist Wang has gotten away, you don't get into this again. We just want to talk to Taoist Master Shi." But the words are just coming out. The nurse behind us warned, "Master, the Special Investigative Unit has deployed." The young man's eyes glazed over at the words. Well, if this is the case, then we can only take action quickly. Let's begin. With the young man's command, the 2 men rushed toward Shi Qianzhang. The nurse is holding 2 daggers, instantly on Shi Qianzhang's neck. Fortunately, Shi Qianzhang used the diamond protection in time, though the attack can't even hurt him. But after all, 2 fists are better than 4. In order not to implicate Wang Sheng, Shi Qianzhang jumped out of the window. The 3 of them followed suit. Immediately after Wang Sheng saw 2 Jietai realms. They were fighting around Shi Qianzhang downstairs. He knows these people are only targeting Shi Qianzhang. As long as he stays out of the way, he should be able to get through this crisis. But can he really do nothing about it? Shi Qianzhang, who's fighting the tall man at the moment, a pair of high heels suddenly appeared on his shoulder. The next second the nurse appeared above his head. She has got 2 daggers in her hand, and she's about to kill him. Just in the nick of time, Wang Sheng made a timely move. Throw the wheelchair and send the nurse flying. Then he swung his sword again and knocked the tall man back, and then slowly landed on the wheelchair. Holding the sword resolutely, he faced 3 people. Though I don't know Qianzhang very well, but we can't just let him die here. Seeing Wang Sheng trying to intervene in this, the young man smiled. Order the tall guy deal with Wang Sheng. The tall guy just leaps straight up. It's a straight shot at Wang Sheng. There was no victory last time. Let's continue today. But Wang Sheng isn't panicking, though his feet are injured. Can't use the 7-star sword formation, but he'll use it now. It's more than just a 7-star sword formation. He broken through to the Jietai realm. It's not what it used to be, facing the tall man's attack. He's going straight for the two-sword skill. By leveraging the power of the he against he self, using dexterity to throw the opponent off. He then used 8 trigrams barrier to protect his body. But Shi Qianzhang is at a disadvantage at this point. He was about to be cut down by the nurse. Wang Sheng suddenly yells, "Master Uncle Jingyan, use your fly sword technique, kills her." The nurse hears this and dodges out of the way. And then she realizes she's been duped. That was just sword energy. It wasn't a fly sword technique at all. And Shi Qianzhang takes advantage of the opening. Once again, he casts his diamond protection. Prepare to fight your opponent for another 300 rounds. But he's not finished yet. He was suddenly struck through the chest. It was the young guy who struck. Wang Sheng pushed his wheelchair forward to check on him. Fortunately, Qianzhang was not seriously injured. He won't die for a while. At that moment, there was a sudden rush of footsteps not far away. The Special Investigations Unit has finally arrived. The nurse and the young man are ready to retreat. But the tall guy who was just blown away by Wang Sheng has lost his mind. Ignoring his injuries, he walked towards Wang Sheng. Looks like he wants to continue. The young man saw this. He turns around and decides he doesn't care. They've served their purpose. It's time to go. Then the tall man, covered in blood, raised his sword, ready to slash at Wang Sheng. The Special Investigations Unit takes out their chains, binding his limbs with great speed, subduing him in an instant, and informed his colleagues elsewhere about the situation here. One evil cultivator has been taken under control. 2 more evil cultivators have entered the hospital building. Team 1, blocking the entrance. Team 2, enter in search. Resistance is allowed to be killed. Wang Sheng looks at these people, thinking about the Special Investigations Unit I heard about in my previous life. Justice Police composed of practitioners. Looks like it's them. At this point, someone suddenly asks Wang Sheng, "Do you need their help with treatment?" Wang Sheng taps Qianzhang on the side and says, "This is Master Qianzhang from Longhu Mountain. There is a way to find Sacred Firebearer. You guys save him first." And until now Wang Sheng finally understood. Why haven't I heard of Shi Qianzhang's name in my past life? Because if he don't have Wang Sheng this time, Shi Qianzhang would have died here. That's why he never heard of Shi Qianzhang in his previous life. Soon after Shi Qianzhang's wounds were bandaged, Zhang also stabilized. Immediately took out a green talisman. In the next second, the talisman spontaneously combusted. Shi Qianzhang said through gritted teeth, "Shenxing, I'm sorry. I will pay you back in the next life." After saying that, he threw the talisman in his hand, changed into a bird and flew out. The Special Investigation Team saw this and immediately notified headquarters. Used all means to track the bird. And Shi Qianzhang is lying on the ground. Covering his face, he cried out in pain. After crying, he's just waiting with Wang Sheng for things to turn out right. Sacred Firebearer Guo Qianqing was finally caught at 2 a.m. Wang Sheng also came to the interrogation room. At that moment, just saw Guo Qianqing coughing twice. Let Wang Sheng and the others ask whatever they want. He's already seriously ill anyway. Time is running out. And don't bother torturing him anymore. After hearing this, Master Wife asked him to explain the process of the Tianshi talisman auction. Didn't expect Guo Qianqing to say there was no auction at all. Even though he's an outcast from Dragon Tiger Mountain, he could not have sell Tianshi talisman to evil cultivators. As for the techniques they were going to use in the cell, he's already given it to someone he trusts. Next they're going to go through the network, spreading these feats around. Hear this. Master Wife immediately ordered that the network be contacted immediately. Supervise the entire network. And Guo Qianqing just snapped at that point and asked, "Why can't everyone practice when revival of heaven and earth's vital energy? I'm just a forerunner. I'm sure there's more to come." But before he can finish, Master Wife just cut him off with a quick rebuke. "It's enough. Keep him down. Keep a close watch." But Guo Qianqing smiles at this. "Don't worry, it's about over." When he finished, his hand is dropped slowly, with the cigarette falling to the ground. Sacred Firebearer Guo Qianqing has passed away. Master Wife punched the wall, then ordered the message that Sacred Firebearer was dead to go out. Calm down the chaos as quickly as possible. The practitioners who are still mobbing outside, arrest them, lock them up. And Wang Sheng looked at the dead Guo Qianqing. but he can't help but feel a little sad. I thought about the techniques I practiced in my past life. I'm sure it came from Sacred Firebearer. Steal sacred fire and give it to the living. Guoqianqing in a sense, he truly deserves the title of Sacred Firebearer, but even though Sacred Firebearer is dead, but his involvement with the auction didn't stop there. Luckily, with the combined efforts of many, those cultivator who took the excuse to cause trouble, they didn't make too many waves. But after this things, Master Uncle Jingyan claimed that he could not adapt to the turbid world. She went back to the mountain to wait for her master's release. Wang Sheng stayed in the city to recover from his injuries, hoping to rebuild his bones and harden his body. But Master Wife seems to have other plans for him. On this day, Wang Sheng is visiting the Dawei Institute in a wheelchair. But suddenly he received a message from his senior sister. Tell Wang Sheng to wait there. She is on the way. Watching a series of angry emoticons from senior sister, Wang Sheng had a bad feeling. Before that, senior sister replaced Master Uncle to protect the master. It must be Master Uncle returning to Zhongnan Mountain. Talk to her about me. Oops, it's bad. But just as Wang Sheng is thinking, a voice suddenly came from behind him. Turn your head. Surprisingly, it's 3 Grandmasters of Talisman. Wang Sheng rushes to bow to the 3 men. At that moment a professor walked out. Now that little Wang has arrived, we'll start the seminar right away. Today's topic is the secret of the revival of heaven and earth. Wang Sheng is full of surprises. I finally gotten to the secret? And then the seminar begins. The professor stands on the stage and explains to the audience. A year ago we explored the backside of the moon. This can be considered a feat for our country. After the initial explorations, we encountered an incredible discovery. I'd like to invite you to watch this classified video. This video was shot on the eve of the revival of heaven and earth. That was also the New Year's Eve of that year. And inside the sealed compartment, that's what we brought back from the backside of the moon. But what no one expected was, that thing was a girl. And it looks like the woman is emitting vitality. I can feel her cultivation through the screen. It's just too scary. And the woman is wearing a new piece of heavenly clothing. Who the hell is she? In the face of the crowd's confusion, the professor coughs twice to signal silence. And then he said, this fairy was discovered during our exploration of the backside of the moon. She was in a coma. Our research on the moon has been centered around her ever since, till we brought her back to Earth. After the meeting, Wang Sheng has some guesses in his mind. New Year's Eve. Almost every family worships the god of heaven and makes offerings to the gods. Did the fairy awaken because of this? And awaken the Earth's energy? But what exactly is hidden on the moon? Then why can fairies attract vitality? And why do I get the feeling that the fairy resembles senior sister? Just as Wang Sheng was thinking, Professor Ma suddenly appeared in front of him, invites him to his office. Waiting to get into the office, Professor Ma started rummaging around. It turns out that his wife and master wife have been best friends for decades. Wang Sheng is here today. Naturally, as an elder, he wants to get something good for Wang Sheng. It just so happens that he got a sword from a classmate. Give it to Wang Sheng. Just as Wang Sheng receives the sword box, he is confused. Don't know what kind of sword this is? Professor Ma entered the password on the box, while explaining that this is one of our research results. Unfortunately, the cost is too high to be popularized. It's a state-of-the-art composite material. It costs about 3,000 a gram to make. Hearing that price, Wang Sheng can't help but sigh in his heart. More than 3,000 a gram? Wouldn't it be rude if I accepted it easily? This was followed by the box snapping open. Wang Sheng also saw the sword in its entirety. He then picks up the sword and gently caresses it. Finds that putting energy into it is very smooth. The maker even took into account the sword's increase in the user's true chi, but sadly not half as spiritual. It doesn't help to the cultivation, can only be used for fighting, so he asked Professor Ma what the name of the sword was. Professor Ma smiled. It doesn't have a name yet, so you give name to it. Wang Sheng thought about it. In that case, let's call it Abyss Spirit. Then Wang Sheng and Ma Yu came to the airport to pick up senior sister. But what Wang Sheng didn't expect was, this time it was Master Uncle Jingyan who arranged the plane for senior sister. Wang Sheng doesn't understand what Master Uncle wants. Could it be that she wants to establish a good relationship with senior sister first, to enhance the relationship with the master? What is a good trick? Senior sister who got off the plane a little while later. She came over wearing sunglasses and dragging her suitcase. Wang Sheng saw senior sister and wanted to say hello. Senior sister just takes off her sunglasses. She looked at her with a fierce expression on her face. Wang Sheng quickly explains. Senior sister, I'm really fine. Maybe the wound will heal tomorrow. At this point, senior sister turns to Mao Yu and thanks her. Wang Sheng also takes the opportunity to change the subject. Senior sister, you have started dressing up too. But what's on your mind is, senior sister seems to be in a bad mood. She needs to be coaxed. And then a voice came out of nowhere. Oh Jesus, really is you Feiyu. Come back with me now. Help saving our life. I saw a middle-aged Taoist priest in a Taoist robe. He was running towards Wang Sheng with his young apprentice. Senior sister immediately protects Wang Sheng behind her. This picture reminds Wang Sheng of an eagle catching a chicken. At the same time, he also heard what the Taoist priest had just said. I think it's a Sichuan accent. I think he must be a Taoist priest from the Shushan sect. Then he asked the Taoist priest's name. Then he smiled and said, I was so excited, I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Feilin of the Shushan sword sect. I've come here specifically to find you. Wang Sheng also hurriedly saluted. At the same time, there is some doubt in his mind. Why would someone from the sword sect be looking for him? Then after some brief exchanges in the car between a few people, Wang Sheng also finally realized the purpose of Feilin's visit. So, before the energy of heaven and earth was cut off, the sword sect had set up a trial for the sect called Sword 72. After the restoration of heaven and earth's vitality energy, the trial begins anew. According to the sword sect canon, as long as you can pass the trial, you will receive the full set of fly sword art. But the problem is that there's not a single sword sect disciple yet has been able to pass this trial. Most disciples can't even set foot in it. That's why Feilin approached Wang Sheng. Learn the whole story. Wang Sheng is still very modest. My strength is still very shallow. I'm afraid I may not be able to pass the trial even if I go. But Feilin is very confident in him. How could you possibly not be able to do this? You are the leader of the new era of sword cultivators. Look, this sword bone and sword body is a swordman. When hear that, Wang Sheng's face is green. I wonder if Feilin is boasting nonsense. But after all, this is the sword controlling technique of the sword sect. Something that many people have been asking for thousands of years. Wang Sheng doesn't want to miss this opportunity, so he agreed to go over and give it a try. About 2 days later, his leg will be healed. Then he can leave for sword trial. Hear this, Feilin immediately said it would be easy. I happen to have the gate's healing potion with me. But Wang Sheng refused. I appreciate your kindness, master, but with my current level of cultivation, it's not that hard to heal. The injuries to my feet may seem serious, but it's not that hard to get better. It's just that I'm going to take this opportunity to reforge my bones to the higher stage. At this point, senior sister suddenly grabbed his by the ear. This expression is obviously saying that you still want to harm your body? Wang Sheng was almost in tears with grab. He apologized to his senior sister, but then the car came to a sudden stop. Mao Yu turns to Wang Sheng and asks, can your foot be restored now? She just got the message. One department of there was destroyed by evil cultivators. Wang Sheng heard the news. They immediately took a plane to support them. On the plane, Wang Sheng also learns from Mao Yu's mouth. The evil cultivators are from the Five Gods religion. Now they has run to an island with hundreds of hostages in their hands. They want to talk to the authorities about order in the monastic world. And they also asked Wang Sheng and Master's wife to go to the negotiation. Otherwise, they'll kill a hostage every 3 minutes. Now they have started taking action against the hostages. We know what's going on. Wang Sheng asked his senior sister to help him put on some ointment. Then he said he understood. The wooding god died at my hands. They sent me over there for nothing more than revenge and prestige. I'll protect the master's wife and stall for time. You play it by ear. Meanwhile, Wang Sheng was thinking to himself, if Sacred Firebearer was just a riot, this time it's the evil ways provocation of the government. The Five Gods are so unscrupulous. No wonder I was killed in my past life. Then Wang Sheng told senior sister that as long as I finish absorbing the medicine, my feet will be healed. You'll be waiting for me at the camp later. You don't have to do anything this time. But senior sister just stood up. And she said, "I'll stay with you. Looks like she's very determined." Wang Sheng had no choice but to agree. Soon after, they arrived at the Special Investigative Unit branch and met up with Master's wife. They asked about the current situation. Master's wife says things are not going well. There are several Sudan realms alone on the other side. There are hundreds of evil cultivators. The point is, they're holding hostages. It's making it difficult for us to get going. Listening to this, Wang Sheng suggests that I go there myself. At least I have my training. We can find a way to delay it for a while. But Master's wife tapped him on the shoulder and said, "Now is not the time to be brave. What the other side wants is the two of us to go there together. Besides, my life is worth 2 more hostages. Then my sacrifice will be worthwhile." A member of the team rushes in to report, "Chief, evil cultivators agreed to our video call." Master's wife nodded as she listened. "Well, I'd like to see what the other side is up to." And according to the Special Investigations Unit, the identity of the person they spoke to has now been determined. It's the leader of the Five Gods cult, Shuro God. As soon as the video connects, Shuro God on the other side of the room lets out a strange laugh. "I'm sure you didn't just find someone to fool me. Chi Ling team leader. I was thinking that if it wasn't you in the video, we would kill everyone here and escape." Hear that? Wang Sheng was taken aback. The master's wife replied without changing her expression, "If you're really confident about facing us, why hold innocent people hostage?" The video shows Shuro God laughing again. "You're wrong. People are born with sin. The man who died at my hands. It's just his fate." To see such contempt for life on the other side, Master's wife didn't say anything more. She said she'd be there in 3 hours. But they have to stop killing innocent people. The Shuro God smiles and agrees. "Yes, but if you don't show up in 3 hours, I'll do it in front of you. Kill these people one by one. Now I want to meet the swordman who had the audacity to kill my 4th sworn brother." At the sound of that, Wang Sheng decisively stepped forward. "And I'm here. I'm the one who killed that lecher. If you want revenge, just come. Why take it out on someone else? Besides, I'm not only bold, I'm kind. I'll organize a funeral for you later." The Shuro God laughed again. "You've got a lot of nerve. If you hadn't killed my 4th brother, I really can't bear to ruin you. If you're afraid, then you can come, but I'll find you later." Wang Sheng, however, is picking at his ears with a disinterested look on his face. "I'm not afraid of that. Do I go on empty-handed, or with my hands tied? After all, I am a swordsman. In case I accidentally hurt Senior, then Senior probably wouldn't have the face to continue in the cultivation world." As soon as these words came out, Shuro God was instantly angered. And then she laughed again. "Kid, could it be that you only uses words to show you advantage? Not to mention bringing your sword. Even if I bring the 2 people beside you, I won't have a trace of fear." Hearing this, Faylene and Senior's sister both stepped forward and snorted. Faylene even reported himself directly. "Sword sect Faylene, I will be opponent." But Shuro God didn't say anything more. She just left a message. 3 hours later. "If you guys don't show up in front of the seniors, today the island is destroyed." Secular people dare to interfere in the affairs of the cultivation world just bring shame upon themselves. The video call was cut off after that. Faylene gives Wang Sheng a thumbs up. "Feiyu is a good use of the agitation technique." Wang Sheng scratches his head in embarrassment. It's thanks to the Taoist master's quick reflexes. The number of people on the island has increased to 4. At this point, Master's wife coughed twice. A reminder to get ready. She just used an extra half hour. Enough for the combat preparation team and the dojos of various sects to prepare for the war. After hearing this, Faylene is a bit confused. Combat readiness groups and sects. That's a lot of Sudan realm seniors, isn't it? Are these evil cultivators stupid? They're running right into their guns. Wang Sheng explains. Those seniors came here before. They were just attending an exchange meeting and happened to catch up on this matter. But then again, is there any chance we could pull off a masterful surprise attack? Faylene sighs. Even if Jin Dan Realm Master, I'm afraid there's no guarantee that too many Sudan Realm practitioners can be defeated in an instant. What's more, being able to advance to the Jin Dan Realm at this time. What a perverted talent and understanding. Wang Sheng smiles awkwardly. Taoist Master Faylene is right. I was naive. But in fact, in his heart, he was thinking, Jin Dan Realm's monks do exist on our side. but I don't think he'll be here in time. Meanwhile, on the nameless peak of Zhongnan Mountain, Master Uncle Jing Yun and Junior Sciziter are guarding the entrance to the cave, preparing a fire for cooking. Suddenly she received a message from Wang Shang. Master Uncle Jing Yun immediately realized something was wrong. Isn't the Five Gods the sect of the evil cultivators? Wouldn't Fei Yu and Bu Yu be in danger then? That's when Cheng Yanzi's voice came from the cave. It smells so good. Junior Sciziter, have you already cooked for me? Cheng Yanzi, who has been in seclusion for many days, has finally come out. At this moment, he is covered in rags, yawning as he comes out of the cave. Saw Junior Sciziter by the fire. Subconsciously thought it was Jing Yun's new apprentice. But when he fixed his eyes, she actually overlapped with the person he had been thinking about for many years. So Cheng Yanzi came to her in an instant. Excitedly, he asked, "Are you one?" Junior Sciziter was frozen in place for a moment. Cheng Yanzi looked at Junior Sciziter, who was frozen in place. Silently, he lowered his head and said, I'm your father. You probably haven't met me. I'm going to clean myself up first. I'll see you when I'm done." With that, Cheng Yanzi turns around and prepares to go freshen up. But he's told by Jing Yun, "Senior brother, I'm afraid you don't have the time to spend with one right now. Fei Yu and Bu Yu, they're in trouble." Both father and daughter were shocked to hear the news. And on Wang Shang's side, with the landing of several helicopters, all hands on deck. Now not only do they have the three great sect on their side to help them, they're joined by two special investigations unit instructors. The one on the left is Yin Jiangnan, a casual cultivator, and the one on the right is Zhang Ziquang from Longhu Mountain. Wang Sheng could tell that these police instructors seem to be Sudan realm cultivation. Suddenly Yin Jiangnan walks over and smiles and says hello to Wang Sheng. "You must be Fei Yu. The plan is simple. You travel to your appointment, and just get their attention. Don't worry, we'll protect you in the shadows." Wang Sheng and senior sister quickly saluted. "Thank you, seniors." At that moment, Yin Jiangnan took off the sword behind his back and handed it to Wang Sheng, saying, "Fei Yu, I heard that your previous sword was destroyed. I'll give you this sword." Wang Sheng quickly waved his hand. "That's too polite." But Yin Jiangnan doesn't care. He just shoved the sword at him. He pats him on the shoulder and laughs. "Take it, it's a gift. Otherwise Cheng Yanzi will say I'm cheap again." Wang Sheng can't help but feel a twitch at the corner of his mouth when he hears this. "I'll just take it and thank you." At the same time, he thought to himself, "I think this senior is an old acquaintance of Master's." At the appointed time, Wang Sheng and Master's wife took the speedboat to the island as promised. On the way, Master's wife told over the battle plan again. "Fei Yu waited until we had drawn the evil cultivators Sudan realm masters to us. The combat squad will launch a surprise attack from 3 other sides. Get the hostages out as fast as they can, although it will be a little difficult. But let's try to attract evil cultivators to our side." Wang Sheng nodded in understanding. "Later, we will try our best to hold back their main force." And Fei Lin is a little worried. "If we kill the evil cultivators directly later, won't we anger them?" Wang Sheng looks ahead in his speedboat. "They said the cultivators would settle things in the cultivators' world. The less we show concern for the hostages, the safer they'll be. We're coming ashore. Stick to the plan." As soon as they landed, Wang Sheng and the others heard a strange laugh. "Little guy, are you the one who killed Elder Wadin of the 5 Gods?" As expected, a large number of evil cultivators from the 5 Gods were waiting for them. However, Wang Sheng just drew his sword and laughed, "So what if it's me?" And then, before the evil cultivators could finish their shouting, Wang Sheng swings out a sword energy. Let him never have a chance to speak again. Then he said coldly, with his sword in his hand, "You say that the cultivators solved the problems of the cultivators' world. Now that I'm here, so you're going to blackmail me with ordinary people? If you want to kill, kill. Anyway, I'm here to kill evil cultivators today. If I let you guys go, there's no telling how many more will be killed." At that moment a voice suddenly came from the woods behind evil cultivators. "Members of the 5 Gods cult, someone kill that clamoring kid. Reward 10 years of cultivation, and the 3-volume of Tantra. Kill these 3, and bring the Jilin Patriarch to the here." Hearing this, the evil cultivators were all on steroids. They lunged at Wang Sheng. Wang Sheng, however, only smiles faintly. Then he tapped his toes and swung his sword. "It's like chopping up vegetable. Kill all the evil cultivators that come at us." It only took a moment. They've taken care of a dozen evil cultivators. Faylene and senior sister, who were watching the battle, were also surprised. They didn't expect that once Feiyu became serious. Can't believe it's so scary. Just looking at the sight. Now who are the mortals who are powerless to resist? And who are the murderous evil cultivators? Finally, there are evil cultivators in the woods who can't stand it anymore. And with a shout, they rushed out. They're ready to kill Wang Sheng together and share the credit. Wang Sheng sees this and realizes that he has been duped. What they have to do next? It's to gradually increase their influence, bringing out more evil cultivators. Then Faylene joins the fight with his sword. The two evil cultivators are taken out in a flash. Wang Sheng locks eyes with him. Then he looks into the woods ahead. They immediately decided to rush in and charge. But just as the two were fighting evil cultivators, instead, the headset was suddenly filled with orders for Master's wife to pull back immediately. There's a pair of masters heading your way. The other side, Sudan Realm, hasn't made a move yet. You're going to have to defend yourselves first. If they keep guarding the hostages, we'll just start the assault. Wang Sheng and Faylene are receiving orders. Immediately return to the beach to meet senior sister. At the same time, Wang Sheng also asked the senior sister to take full action later. Senior sister nodded and agreed. Sure enough, it didn't take long. More evil cultivators are coming out of the woods. Faylene immediately warns Wang Sheng to be careful. These are all real Jietai realm. One by one, full of momentum. I'm afraid a few of them have actually practiced forbidden magic. At that moment, senior sister put her hand in front of her chest. And then she did the yin and yang, 2 breaths, 1 source. The yin-yang Hoyuan formation opens instantly. A vortex of vitality was formed, swirling many evil cultivators into it. Wang Sheng and Faylene look at each other. They began to work together to kill these evil cultivators. The evil cultivators are ready to retreat. But it's too late now. The vitality energy of heaven and earth here has been disrupted by the yin and yang of the senior sister, so that they can't even raise half of their kung fu. They're just lambs to the slaughter. And in the depths of the island, a group of senior members of the Five Gods cult were gathering here. As the head of the cult, Shuro God spoke in a cold voice. These useless things, a few juniors can't handle it. Everyone, why don't we take action together? Capture Jilin and run away. But just as she finished speaking, immediately, there was a question. It's easy for us to go, but what about the believer? The Shuro God jumped right on top of the Black Iron God said. After we catch Jilin, we'll run away immediately. We'll just leave them to distract the soldiers. Chaos is coming. Are you afraid you won't be able to recruit men if you have the strength? Wang Sheng is still in the formation killing evil cultivators. Some evil cultivators still hiding in the woods. Seeing these 3 guys is too strong. They're going to turn around and run away. But before they could turn around, a skull flew out of the woods. In an instant, it was in front of senior sister. Luckily, Wang Sheng was there in time. He struck the skeleton with his sword. It was barely blocked. And then saw someone coming. Wang Sheng directly taunted, "Do you have any more shame? Against the 3 of us Jietai realm. Do we need 4 Sudan realm?" The Shuru God sneers. "Kid, you're going to die here today. Everyone, success and fame are tonight. Catch Jilin at any cost. As for the others, kill them all." At the command of Shuro God, all the evil cultivators seemed to have gone mad. They lunged at Wang Sheng and the others. And at that moment the master's wife's side receives the news that the rescue team is heading towards the center of the island. We're ready to move on to the second phase of the operation. So she spoke directly, "Let's do it, everyone." The words just came out. Behind master's wife, a column of water rises to the sky. 4 masters of Sudan realm appeared in front of the crowd in an instant. Shuro God immediately realized that she had been tricked, cursing at Wang Sheng for being despicable. And yet the words were not finished. Yayan was already slashing at her with his sword. "Yayan, the swordman, I will be your opponent." Shuro God just clashed with Yayan for 1 move. She realized that Yayan's cultivation was not inferior to hers. She can't get rid of it in a short time, so she decided to order Black Iron God to catch the thief first. Go catch Jilin. Seeing Black Iron God coming her way, Wang Sheng and Faylene immediately stood by with their swords. But then senior sister suddenly grabbed them by the shoulders. Then she threw them behind her like chickens. alone with the tall Black Iron God in front of him. Black Iron God looked at senior sister and said indifferently, "You're strong, but it's just Jietai realm. There's still a big gap between you and Sudan realm. Today you must die." With that, Black Iron God rushed towards senior sister. But senior sister had no fear. Use the method of yin and yang. Yin and yang, follow your heart, control the rule with hands. Facing the wild and violent attacks of the Black Iron God, senior sister overcomes toughness with softness and resolves problems easily. And then she slammed her palm on the chest of the Black Iron God, forcing it to take a step back. But at that moment there was a dark shadow. It came to the back of Master's wife quietly. Luckily Wang Shang realized it in time and cut it off. But this man is clearly above Wang Shang's level. Just a casual wave. It blocked Wang Shang's sword. It even cut Wang Shang's face. Wang Shang hastily swings out a sword chi and draws back. Fei Lin decides to tell Wang Shang to take the master's wife and leave. He's here to stop the evil cultivator. Wang Shang didn't hesitate. Carrying master's wife on his shoulders, he ran toward the woods. And what's going on over here attracts the attention of Shuro God as well. She thought to herself that old third didn't succeed. But the other side is just two Jietai realm. Just after a while, he'll get Jilin for sure. Now I need to distract these guys to buy time for old third. So Shuro God directly shouted out to the 5 gods believers to listen to the order. Kill all those mortals. Leave no one behind. But she's just finished saying that. There's a rush of footsteps not far away, followed by a report from the rescue team. All hostages have been rescued. Shuro God and the others panicked. And the crowds that were arriving. It's officially the second phase of the program. Gather all combatants. Prepare to destroy the evil cultivators. As for Wang Shang's side, after settling Master's wife down, he removes the abyss spirit from his back, ready to go back and help. At this point, the man Fei Lin was just fighting, suddenly used his sand control technique. Fei Lin's flying sword is trapped. Fei Lin's strength is half gone without his flying sword. He can only retreat in a hurry. Wang Shang finally comes to his aid with abyss spirit. He stabbed his sword at the Sandman, but he didn't expect his opponent to coalesce a suit of armor out of sand and stone. And then he held the abyss spirit with just one hand, mocking Wudong's 7-star sword technique just so. But he had just finished speaking. The next second, his face will change instantly. Wang Shang uses his true essence to strike and breaks his defense. Let out a scream. But it's also pissing off the other guy. He yelled, "Get away." Then the powerful true essence of Sudan realm erupted. Wang Shang was blown fly. Wang Shang gradually falls to the ground, spitting out a mouthful of blood. Seeing Wang Shang injured, the senior sister who was fighting was immediately distracted. Wang Shang shouts, "Senior sister, I'm fine. You focus on the fight." Senior sister turns around and gets serious. And the Sandman, because of the blow he's been completely enraged, shouting that he's going to kill Wang Shang. But it's a good thing the special operations team has surrounded them. Now Wang Shang and Fei Lin just need to work together to trap them and prevent them from running away. It didn't take long for the special operations team to gather. "Leave it to us here. Let Wang Shang rest first." Shuro God sees that the tide has turned. The Shuro God was immediately retreat. But she didn't expect this jump from her. But she jumped on top of a Taiji formation. Not far away senior sister waved her hand. She trapped her in the formation and couldn't move. Yan Zhangnan also seized the opportunity. Leaping up in the air, he stabbed at Shuro God. Succeeded in killing him with a single strike. Shuro God already feels that the overall situation has been decided. The rest of the evil cultivators are no longer able to fight back. As for the rest of the chieftains, they were eliminated by the combined efforts of the seniors. Among them, Black Iron God, who was surrounded by 7 or 8 instructors, died the most miserably. The bones of his body were broken his body protecting aura. On the other hand, because there was help from Sudan realm masters during the raid, all hostages have been rescued. And with the arrival of the battle group personnel, and the aftermath is in order. As for Wang Shang, he's sitting on the beach. With his eyes closed, he is nestled in his senior sister's arms. At this point Master's wife came over and asked Wang Shang, "Do you want to stay with the Special Investigations Unit?" After all, Yan Zhangnan and the others are mainly guarding the border. The Special Investigations Unit needs Wang Shang's help, Senior sister looks to Wang Shang. Let him make the decision. Wang Shang thinks about it and says, Master's wife, let's wait until we've spoken to the master. Besides, I promised Faline I'd go to the sword sect. Master's wife breathed a long sigh of relief. I was just about to ask Wang Shan what he wanted as a reward. Yan Zhangnan and Zhang Ziquan walked towards them. It turns out they are here to recruit people too, trying to get Wang Shang to join their combat team. At that moment, they suddenly realized there was someone in the air. They were on guard and shouted, Tell those whose cultivation level is below Sudan realm to back off. This is a Jin Dan realm master.